look myself in the mirror and accept that if you weren't a racist, you condone what a racist did. So that's, to me, the same thing. It's the same thing. So
I agree with you completely.
Sounds to really make you rub and scrub. Slang badang badang bong biddly biddly bong. Bong biddly 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 bong. I said, pass the dutchie on the left hand side. Pass the dutchie on the left hand side. It a go bun.
Anthony, welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the invite.
I appreciate it.
You got a big show. You got a big following. So God bless you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Both of you, welcome to the show. I greatly appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, and good morning.
The floor is yours.
Whatever it is, it'll keep till the morning. Haven't we both got better things to do? Midnight blue.
I'm on your side, I still care. I may have died, but I've gone nowhere. Just think of me, I'll be there. Just think of me, I'll be there. There you go. Bit rusty.
Oh. You know what? I gotta tell you, usually I make my guests get a little emotional if I find something that touches them. You got me this time. So viewers, you're always telling me you got this one emotional. That got me emotional. I had to wipe my eyes.
No.
Since you told me you've seen some of the shows already, welcome, Johnny, of course. You know the running joke on my show is, because you're 6 hours ahead of me.
Oh, yeah.
I need the lottery numbers. But,
What do you mean? These ones?
Yeah, there you go. I love it.
I'm one step ahead of you, man.
Hey, folks, I'm the man with the pinky ring and the New York thing. Forget about it. Bad Brad Berkwitt, and this is the Bad Brad Berkwitt Show on the Ringside Report web TV channel. Now make sure you hit that button and subscribe, and I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. Leave your comments below this episode. Let's have a conversation. It's always great hearing from people that enjoy these shows and your comments and your memories. I appreciate that. Now today, folks, I've been to England and I've been to Australia. Now I'm going to Canada. Forget about it. My guest is a legendary band from Canada from the early 80s, still performing, still sounding great with fans around the world. All right? Did a lot of research on this gentleman. Very interesting story. A lot of stuff to talk about. Can't wait to get into it. So, he is the front man and the guitarist for the legendary Canadian 80s band, The Spoons. He is Gord Deppe. Well, first of all, I want to welcome you to the show, Gord, all the way from Canada. You're an hour ahead of me. So the running joke that I have on my show, usually it's anywhere from 6 to 16 when I interviewed David Sterry from Australia and a couple other people. Since you're an hour ahead of me, you got my lottery number, so I'll split it with you 50-50.
Yeah, it is kind of a time warp thing, isn't it? It's like I should check. Really, I should. Especially Australia. I mean, you could be like in the stock market and it's all kinds of stuff. Right?
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? So, welcome to the show. We talked before we started recording. He's got really cool, and everybody knows I'm a movie guy because I always talk about him. He's got cool vintage posters over, and he said one of them is Barbarella. So I'm not going to tell you who starred in Barbarella, but go look it up. He's got Some Like It Hot, which is a classic 1959 black and white movie. And he's got some Hitchcock movies. You said Rear Window and Vertigo.
Yeah, and Vertigo, yeah.
Yep, so we're already clicking here because there's in my music room, I got all my Godfather posters and all that stuff. So really, really cool. Well, first of all, before we get into any Q&A and stuff like that, I always like to ask my guests with what's going on in the world, of course, with the pandemic. You're my first guest that I've had out of Canada, so I'm very interested in hearing how you guys doing. How are you coping? How are you
Yeah.
and the missus dealing with it, and so on?
Well, we have it a little easier here because I play with my band, The Spoons, possibly a Flock of Seagulls. Those guys have not been able to do anything. But here in Canada, we've done everything possible within the parameters. We did the rooftop of a building, like Beatles style for Canada Day, which is our Independence Day. And then we did a private island. We did not a cruise ship, but a riverboat to have some locks. We did drive-in theaters. We did anything possible, right? So we were able to keep playing. We did a couple of theaters that hold 1,000 people, that only allowed 50 people per night.
Wow.
But they were able to take the loss for it because they kept things going. So we've been a lot luckier here. And I tell you, the best thing for coping, I just moved houses. You got to find something that's worse than moving. I mean, just sort of worse than COVID.
Right.
Moving is worse. It was so distressing and upsetting that I forgot about the news for a week. Just highly recommend it. Actually, not, but
Right. And as far as Canada itself, how are you doing better as a country? Doing worse? Did you reach spikes or what?
Yeah, it's very similar because we're only 10% of your population, so everything's like 10% of the damage, right? It's like, but it's bad enough. Like we're closing down again, parts tomorrow, but definitely Christmas for a month, like the whole province.
Okay.
Lockdown. So yeah, it's very similar, but we have had it a little easier, performing wise and stuff like that. But it's pretty well the same thing. It's not like two different countries really when it comes to that.
All right. Well, hey, as we get into the Q&A, I always tell my guests, I do a lot of research. It was a lot of fun researching you because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. But if something is wrong, because as we know, contrary to popular belief that everything on the internet is true, which we know is not.
Yeah.
There's something wrong in the notes for my viewers and for me. Please say, hey, Brad, it actually was this. I'm not offended by that.
Yeah.
Go ahead and set the record straight. What I want to
All
do,
right.
I want to start at the beginning and move to modern day. So it looks like you were born in Vancouver.
Yeah.
That's true. But you moved to Germany at some point pretty young. Is that
Yeah,
right?
within the first year. That's where my parents were from.
Okay.
And I didn't come back till I was like 7 or 8 or something. So I was raised a completely different way than other songwriters that maybe, in the same thing. So yeah, it was culture shock coming back in '67, but I was overwhelmed by like American culture, not just cartoons, but bands and TV shows, like the Partridge Family to the Banana Splits to whatever. So music got me right away when I came over here. I wanted to be that guy in the Partridge Family or the Monkees or whatever. There was a lot of that going on. Where in Germany, you got like, the Schnitzel channel and the the Sauerkraut channel, and there's not much of that entertainment going on. At least not back then.
Okay. You got any memories of Germany from the 7 or not much?
Not much. I mean, I was back. I haven't been there probably in 40 years, but when I went back, I've got great memories, especially big places like Cologne.
Okay.
Cologne, which is like a big Gothic town, and I realized a lot of that creepy Gothic stuff sort of rubbed off on me as a kid in my imagination and came through in songwriting and the early stuff. I said, where did that come from? Yeah, it was like wandering through those streets with my grandfather and visiting old churches and places and seeing like puppet shows behind the cathedral, and just it's kind of a dark side of things that I appreciate.
Okay. Because looking up your name, I'm not going to say all of it because I don't have it written down as if you want to look up, but be it that you have German, you're obviously your family from there. You have like what, 4 or 5 names?
No, middle names. You mean? Yeah, it's weird.
Middle names.
Yeah, they're all friends of my dad's. I think one is Greek, one is American, one was German. But the actual name Depp is like Johnny Depp, but it's got an E on the end. And it's originally Belgian, like his is as well. So it's a real name. Like and I thought, especially when, I thought I would change it. It's not a very rock and roll sounding name, but with people like Johnny Depp around, it's not so bad.
That's right. Right. There you go. Okay, like you said, it looks like you moved back to Canada in about '67. So growing up at that point in Canada, do you come from a musical family?
Not so much. We used to have little band, like these little family bands, almost like the Von Trapp family, where we get together on family trips. We did. I had my little, I didn't even have a guitar back then. I think it was a melodica. You know what that is? It's kind of like a keyboard you blow into.
Yep.
Actually, Kraftwerk used to use one of those on stage.
Sure did.
And somebody would have a flute and a shaker, and we put little concerts on as we traveled, like the Griswolds and hotel rooms, and that kind of got me thinking. And then I got into the high school choir, public school choir, And then in the high school big band, I played the saxophone in that. Very on rock and roll too, which by the way, was probably inspired by Some Like It Hot. Because as a kid, that got me thinking, wow, you know, Marilyn Monroe, you know, being stuck on a train with her, you know, not the cross-dressing part of it, but, you know, the rest of it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, what type of music did your parents listen to while you were when you were growing up?
Well, I remember, I wrote a book, so all this stuff was really fresh in my mind. And I remember the first songs that stuck with me because my mom would play them on the little turntable over and over again, little 45s. One was a song called Puppet on the String, which is by Sandy Shaw. I think it was like one of the Eurovision Song Contest winners.
Okay.
And the other one was the theme from Dr. Zhivago. Remember that movie, Dr. Zhivago? This really haunting.
Somewhere in My Love, right?
Yeah, there was just something, just the drama of it was like, wow, what is this world of music? You know, as a kid. But my mom, you know, she was like into Engelbert Humperdinck, Tom Jones, that kind of stuff. Not very, you know, I didn't really learn much from that, but I was definitely around music all the time. Okay. It wouldn't be much till much later that I heard like Elvis and stuff like that, you know. Right. And I should say, when we lived in Germany, we lived in a place called Lübeck, which is about an hour from Hamburg, which is famous for one reason. I remember sitting in my sandbox playing with bugs and toy cars and stuff. My parents reading from the local magazine saying, "Oh, this is band from Britain, really making it big in Hamburg called the Beatles." And swear to God, I'm thinking, looking at the bugs in my sandbox, going, "That's weird. Like, what do bugs have to do with music?" You know. And I tell people about as much as spoons do, right? It's just you make something new out of a name, right?
Okay. Now, you started the Spoons very early. You were in your teens. I saw videos of you guys standing, all of you guys really, really, really young, clips from Canada and local news and all that. It was really, really cool. So you talked about you loved music early on, but what was it that grabbed you first and said, this is what I want to do or I want to try to do?
You know, I always wanted to do it, but I never thought in a million years I could because I was the shyest kid in school. I was like, I would go home and put on concerts and wait till everybody was out of the house and kind of sing. And I never thought I'd be able to sing in front of crowds of people. It was not in the cards for me. So I just daydreamed about it. But I had like a little band in school where I was just a guitar player. And one day the singer quit and I kind of had to. I said, well, I've got these original songs. I really didn't know how to sing covers. And they said, oh, those are pretty good, you know? And another person I went to my school was Jim Carrey. And we used to do this. We used to do the same Christmas assemblies, same talent shows, and he was shyer than I was. And I do since my book came out, I do speaking to kids about following your dreams stuff. And I say you don't have to be the coolest kid in school with the biggest ego. Whatever. Usually those really talented people are very humble, thoughtful people, not what you expect. And he would come on, we do our little song, and then he'd come on, do his shtick. And I used to think, what an idiot! Like, but now I like him. But back then, he was just bizarre, But we had a very talented school. A lot of people from Second City, that went on to SNL.
Yep.
It was a good area. We had a full stage too, like a theater stage, which was good. Not just a gym, like with aisles, and we actually did a show there a couple of years ago as a benefit or charity thing to rebuild the thing. I was scared just as much as I was when I was there as a kid. I walked onto that stage, I was like Marsha Brady, just like.
And for the very young viewers, they were talking about Marsha Brady, which I know you know this, is from the Brady Bunch. Because we have a certain person here, I'm not going to get into politics, that loves to say Russia, 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 and he stole it from Marsha, Marsha, Marsha. It's not
okay.
But
I'm really aging myself with these references and the movies too. But I think it was a good time.
Dude, it's definitely a good time. You got great taste. All right. Looks like you graduated from McMaster University with a bachelor's degree in psychology.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Not good for a living, but good for lyrics, I would say.
And you got me to start a question. So how did that help you in your music career of psychology, and how did it help you in the music business?
Well, I guess I'm a bit sort of weary of everything. You ever sort of second guess things? Maybe that helps a bit with the business. I don't know, but definitely lyrically, it's just bizarre concepts, and that tied in with when I was watching on TV at the time, like Twilight Zone and The Prisoner, which is a creepy sort of show from England. Now they're exploring all these psychological things about brainwashing and psychedelic drugs and all kinds of weird things and those things. So I started off writing songs, not about being in love with a girl down the street or partying. There were songs about alternative ways of thinking and dark things. But one of the first songs on our first album was called Red Light, because as part of one of my psychology classes, I had to do conditioning training with pigeon. I had this pigeon in a box. You had to train it over months to peck a red light for food. A little thing would come, or green light, whatever. And I finally gave up because the thing was there to kill me. It was like destroying my hands, pecking at me. But out of that, I thought, you apply that to relationships, red light, green light, mutual conditioning of each other. And that, yeah, definitely the psychology paid off that way. I was never going to be a psychologist ever.
Okay.
That was for sure.
Okay. I got to ask you, since you brought it up, my favorite show of all time, you just mentioned, is The Twilight Zone.
Oh, me too.
So I'm going to put you on the spot because my last guest said Twilight Zone and she watched every episode. I own them all on DVD. So give me 1, 2, or 3 of your favorite episodes, original, because they redid it. 50.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
and I would say, before I say anything, that probably influenced me more than anything else in my life.
Okay.
And like for thinking, for writing, for whatever. And I watched them like you do. I have the box sets, and they still affect me the same way. Even those cheesy, sets and very low, low budget a lot of the time.
Yep.
But man, he explored things that we'd never even thought of before. So you know what? I like all the shows. My favorites are the ones where there's 1 or 2 people left at the end of everything. Like they have to struggle to survive. And in this, the very first episode is the best example. Like, Where's Everybody Gone? Or what it's called, or where the guy wakes up in a town all by himself.
You talking about the one with Earl Holliman?
I think so. It's the first episode. I think what's it called?
It's an experiment. It's an experiment.
Yeah.
And he was in the Air Force. Yeah.
I love that feeling of when you walk into a room, there's still cigarettes smoldering in the cigarette thing, or the coffee cup's still warm, but where's everybody, right? Yep. And the other one like that, I forget the name of it, where this couple wakes up in a house and everything's fake, what do you call it? A squirrel in the tree. Yep. The cupboards aren't real. Yep. And they walk out and there's no people, and the trees fall over when they touch them. Yep. I love those kind of like, where are we? Like, and there's a bunch of those, like many of them. There's another one like that with, I don't know all the names, but with the 3 or 4 characters in a silo kind of thing, a drum.
You're talking about the army guy, the clown,
the
ballerina, and then they're dolls.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know till the end that they're dolls in like I think almost like a Salvation Army thing at Christmas time.
Yep.
And they keep hearing this creepy bell. It's actually the girl, trying to get donations. Yeah, so I'm a fan of those sort of bleak, dark views of the world, which is kind of weird. But I really do enjoy those. And other ones, they almost had some comedic stuff too, which I loved. That was and then playing with all the fear of nuclear war and the fear of aliens and all those deep fears. But I like when they explored things you hadn't even thought of. Like, oh my God, I didn't even know I was scared of that. But he had an idea how to find those things.
Sterling was. I mean, think about things that could happen today. Because his messages back then, Rod Serling, and he died so young. He died at only 49 years old, unfortunately. Wow. But Monsters on Maple Street, how they were controlling people. You're the one. No, you're the one. Your lights went out or your lights went on. They could still be relevant. They are still relevant today.
Oh, absolutely. And he had to fight for those, didn't he? He had to really plead his case with the networks and stuff.
Yep.
No, very intelligent. And it's like they still stand up like fine wine. It's amazing.
Definitely. Okay. Looking at the spoons at the beginning, you and Sandy Horn are the 2 originals that stayed the whole time. So my question for you with that is, I've watched a lot of clips with you guys together, and I love seeing you guys together. So my question is this: is the relationship brother and sister, or is it mischievous bandmates? Because she's got a really good sense of humor, and you do too. You can see, when some of the interviewers ask you different questions. There's a lot of history there. But if you had to sum up the relationship with Sandy being together in the band from the start to modern day, even if there was some downtime, how would you define that relationship?
Well, but right now it's like lifelong musical friends. But at the beginning, when we first met in high school, we were a couple.
Right.
We were 7 years. She was like 15, and I was 17 or something, very young. It was a young band. This is even before the Spoons. Yeah, we survived that. I mean, we will talk about a song called Romantic Traffic later, but that song, we did like 12 videos. It's the only one that was like no budget. It was just us being ourselves in the subways of Toronto. But that's like a window into our life at the time because we had just broken up. So watch it again, knowing that fact.
Okay.
And you can see how we never look at each other off in space with our thoughts elsewhere, and it's so telling, right? So we survived that. The whole band was saying, "Oh my God, it's over." You know, but we, you know, as a testament to you know, our belief and what we work for, we kept it together, and we get on fine now. You know, we've both been married a couple of times, different people. It's all good.
Okay.
I'm happier than ever. So
Good deal. So it looks like you released your first album, Stick Figure Neighborhood. Is that what it was called?
you know, that's like a Twilight Zone kind of thing, isn't it?
Okay.
About conditioning or like fake people. You know, who is your neighbor kind of thing.
There you go. And that looked like it came out in about 1981. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Talk about going into the studio and recording your first album.
Well, how was this doing our first record with Danny Lanois, who was, you know, at a little place called Grand Avenue, because it was down the street from McMaster. I was just finishing my final exams at McMaster, and I would rush down and do some tracks at Grand Avenue. And Danny Lanois, anybody doesn't know who he is, he went on to be U2's biggest producer. He did Joshua Tree, stuff like that. He worked with Brian Eno. By that time, he was just talking. I think he hadn't done anything yet, but he was a superstar about to explode. We were lucky to, he liked what he heard, and he worked with us. And that was just, we just fooled around. I'm amazed the record label let us do what we wanted to do, because there was no concern for like getting airplay, because it was so wacky. It's just like, you know, and you can see, you know, all the influences from Twilight Zone to Disneyland to, you know, The Prisoner from, you know, by the way, you know the show The Prisoner from England?
No, I don't. I got to look that up.
That will be your number 2 after Twilight Zone. Patrick McGowan, the same kind of thing. This guy wakes up in a remote village, held prisoner. And you'll probably know it when you see it. It was out in the 60s. Like, it was probably again. Yeah, so that was it was kind of a learning thing. We let us do what we wanted to do. Then all of a sudden, we did this one song called Nova Heart. And that's probably your next step of this whole thing, which changed. You know how that happened? I was at a little bar in Hamilton, which is kind of like Canada's Liverpool, steel town, like a Detroit kind of working man's place. And we lived in Burlington, so I go across the bridge to rough it a bit, you know, and see some bands. And I'm going to this tiny little bar and seeing orchestral maneuvers in the dark.
And it used to be a strip club, you said.
Yeah, it was called the Brass Rail, and then they changed it to Banisters or something. Nice change, right? I remember seeing them, and I realized, man, this is like the Spoons, but the next level of what I wanted to do, be more grand, sophisticated, not so quirky, you know? Because before the Spoons, Sandy and I were into prog rock. So we wanted to make big, grand music, not sort of throw away, you know, fluffy stuff that we did at the beginning. So that changed everything. And the very first thing I did, I borrowed the keyboard player's keyboard. I'm not a keyboard player. The next morning, I wrote Nova Heart. Just like, I didn't even think about it. I just went, da-da-da, da-da-da. I'm not a keyboard player, but because I wasn't, the keyboard player went, that's so stupid, I would never have thought of it, because it's so simple, right? And then that was the first big hit.
Okay. And you're right, we're going to go into that. But before we go into that question, Gord did a thing, this is when I became aware of you guys. You did Back to the Basement.
Yeah.
Okay, which is Greg Ross put together. My man, Kevin Rankin, who's now in the Flock of Seagulls, works with him, is the drummer. Cool cat, does a show himself. So what Gord did that was different, and I loved it because Debbie and I watched it. I said, you got to watch this band. And first thing she said that when Debbie and I were watching it was like, they're sending that, they're not even pushing masks and all that. Not that you're saying don't wear a mask, but if you ever wanted to send a subliminal message that, hey, use the social distance, watch their video, which is really, really cool, because they're singing Nova Heart, and they're all in different rooms. Gord is in the kitchen. Sandy is by like a son or something like that.
I think it's a dining room or something, dining room.
And then one guy's in the bedroom, and you said your daughter was the one that was filming it?
Yeah, Sandy's daughter just walked around with an iPhone, just looking for the band pretty well. Like, where's Waldo? And she opened the door, no, nothing in here. And then, oh, there's a drummer. And it was totally done live. If you did it, it's almost like, have you ever seen a movie where it's like a one-cut movie?
Yep. I
should ask you about, I don't know if you're a Hitchcock fan. There was one Hitchcock movie where they did that. It was a one-take movie. I think they cut it when they went by a shadow or something. But most of it,
I don't know why, and I don't think this is the movie, but I don't know why North by Northwest comes to me, but I don't.
No, it's not. But it was called Rope.
Okay.
It was the one, yeah. But it was like that. It's a one-take thing. Right? You start and you go, and it worked out great, because I was sort of tired of the whole Zoom performance thing with 4 boxes. You know, have the band spread out in the house, walk around. And sometimes there was nobody there. She'd go to the top of a staircase and be nothing there, but you could hear the band playing because we left the mics in each room. but it really, you know, caught people's attention because we were trying a little bit harder and it worked out great. We thought of doing that whole concert series from her place, like, you know, live from Sandy's house type of thing.
That would be cool. Now, like I said, check that video out. Nova Heart, we're gonna talk about that in a minute, the album and all that. But you had, I'm a huge 80s guy, and you got a great sound. You come across to me, this is my personal opinion, because I watched clips on you live from I forget what casino it was in 2019, Rama, something like that. I watched your whole, it's on your website.
Yeah, Casino Rama, yeah.
Yep, about 22 minutes. You're one of those artists, and I commend you. Not all artists, and you know this better than me, you're a musician, not all artists sound good live as they do in the studio. I know in the studio you could do certain things, but you're one of those groups, in my opinion, that you sound as good on stage as you do in the studio. And I mean,
appreciate that.
I'm serious.
I appreciate that very much, because I'm one of the most self-judgmental kind of people. I would never think anything's good enough.
Right.
But, you know, so to hear that's great, because I always tried more to be better. Yeah, I think I probably sing better now, because, you know, in the beginning of the 80s, our first album, that Stick for Your Neighbor, I didn't even really sing. I kind of like yelled, and it was very talking heads, like, I want this thing, you know, like everything was sort of real stern and tutorial, you know, Teutonic, I should say. So I've loosened up a little bit and learned to sing better. And in-ears help too, in-ear monitors. So
right. Well,
didn't have those back in the 80s.
Yeah, but you know what? And we're going to get more into it about you being shy and all that later in the interview. But you know, and another thing too, folks, if you haven't seen the Spoons perform, go on YouTube, because there's a million interviews with Gord, and and also you're the same person. Now, I never pulled up punches with my guests. I do a lot of research on them, and it was particularly fun researching you, because, like I said, we're going to talk about a lot of things. But you're the same in every interview. Okay? No, that's cool. I mean, you come across very down to earth. I respect it. You're a talented musician. I thoroughly enjoy, I'm not going to tell everybody what we've said in emails and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But he does second guess himself. I can tell you that, folks, because
it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. But you're immensely talented. I love the sound of your group. I love that current day stuff that you've done as well. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later, because some people don't like, they only want to listen to stuff back in the day. And I'm going to be honest with you. Some artists, I'm not calling anybody out, some artists can't recapture the magic. It is what it might be. It might be the maybe they don't have the same budgets with studios, whatever it may be, whatever. But you're one of those groups, and I mean it, that you capture the magic in the 80s, but when you move forward to modern day stuff, even though you still have some of the same sound, you still capture the magic. And that's not easy to do, because I've watched a lot of groups that try to capture it again, and they can't. So I commend you for that.
Oh, thank you. You know what? It's probably because we like it so much. I can't think of anything that keeps me so absorbed. I love making new music, but I'm very, very picky. Like, we're in the studio, something could be amazing, but if I think it's too far off the mark and people don't say, hey, that's the Spoons, and I'll say, you know, it's good, but not right, you know. So this consistency and that kind of thing. But at the same time, we still try to sound current. So it's so cool. If people hear our stuff now, like the latest I reckon, go, wow, that sounds kind of like an 80s band. Like, yeah, we are. They don't have to know that we were, because a lot of new bands have those 80s flavors anyway, right? The 808 drum machines and the synth. It's so current that you really can't tell if it's original or now. But we're very, very picky about, because I'm not, you know, we're not the greatest musicians in the world. I'm not the best singer in the world, but if you got that thing that makes you a little different, you got to hold on to it for dear life, you know?
Well, you come across, like I said, in all the videos, the live performances, I watch you talk to the audiences and all that. I can tell, I worked in intelligence for many, many years in the military. You can usually tell, and not saying that every night is a perfect night, but you can tell when someone's bullshitting their way through it and they're not. You're one of those artists and your group that you could tell that all these years later, and it's many years later, you're still having fun doing it. And I think that's why your music is still fresh. We're going to talk about current day. We'll get to it in a minute. But why I think that I enjoyed it so much watching older performances in current. So going into Nova Heart, the following year after Stick Figure Neighborhood, you go in the studio. Now, I don't want to pronounce this wrong. It's A-R-I-A-S. How do you say it?
Arias and Symphonies?
Arias and Symphonies.
Very pompous, you know.
That's okay. And the album spawned 3 top 40 hits in Canada: Nova Heart, Arias and Symphonies, and Smiling in Winter. Well, I got to tell you, Nova Heart, folks, if you haven't heard it before, go on YouTube, because everything is there. I have had it on loop. That and Romantic Traffic, and another song that we're going to talk about in a little while. It's been on loop playing and playing and playing and playing over again. I love this song. I love the lyrics. I love the sound of it. So what I would like you to do is talk about going in and doing that album, which opened up doors for you, if I have my research correct, to open up for clubs like Culture Club, the Police, and stuff like that. It really pushed you guys forward. So talk about going in the studio, recording that, and what it did for you professionally as a group.
Yeah, it was it was like after that turning point where I saw OMD, and I kind of went, you know, this is more of what we should be doing, not being a quirky Talking Heads kind of band, but being, especially coming from prog rock, be more sort of grandiose and big and synthy, you know, like, and Nova Heart, it's funny because I've been taking psychology classes, you know, that contributed to it, learning to like the synthesized drum machines. And we hooked up, I mean, big thing too, we hooked up a guy named John Punter, a producer, and he just come off doing Japan records, the band called The Reflex, not the song. You know, some really pretty amazing stuff. And he did the exact same thing with us that he did with Japan. Because you listen to the older stuff like Adolescent Sex, it's very sort of punky, fun, kind of, and all of a sudden there's sophisticated, sort of very lush sound. And that's what we wanted to do with him. And Nova Heart was that song that, again, that wrote itself pretty well. I just poured the keyboard. I remember sitting there with the light coming into the curtains and just like, it's just first thing I did, go da da da. What's the song? You know, like, and it went from there. And again, lyrically, it was not your typical rock song. It was about, I was into science fiction, so there's bits of like Isaac Asimov in there about the future of the world and this big spiritual, all-encompassing sort of global awareness, guys. But on one level, it's just a love song. You know, I think all good songs should be like that, right? So if all you want out of it, it's about a guy and a girl, but if you look deeper, it's got all kinds of stuff going on. And that relationship with John Punter really blossomed. We did that one song with the flip side Symmetry, and that led to the Aria Symphonies record, which we recorded over at Air Studios. George Martin walked into the room and shook our hands.
Oh, wow.
He was his boss, you know. So there's George Martin with this white shirt on, just like you see him, his sleeves rolled up. Welcome to my studio. Didn't phase us at all back then as a bunch of kids, right? Now, oh my God, George Martin.
Stop here for 1 second. Tell them, because I want the younger viewers, this is a big deal who we just mentioned. Tell them who George Martin is. I know who he is, but tell the viewers.
Probably the most famous, you know, to some degree, producer of all time, Beatles. You know, big Beatles producer, and really he could do stuff with 4 tracks or so, you know, more, you know, that would boggle your mind. But yeah, he ran Air Studios, and yeah, that was our little introduction to that world. Sorry, what was the question?
No, that's fine.
I was getting off on the rails here.
No. I just wanted you to clarify because George Martin's a big deal. I was asking you, and you were going along with, you're fine, about the recording, going in, Nova Heart, recording that album. What was it like?
Well, first of all, going from Canada, where there wasn't much going on in local bands at the studio, you know, but you walk into there. While we were at Air Studios, which is right downtown London, there was the Pretenders were there. Dixie Midnight Runners was there, just doing their big hit. Paul McCartney was just coming in. You know, you just walk room to room. I would go room to room and check out everybody's gear. You know, there'd be like I walk in, the amps will still be hot, like Pretender stuff he set up. And there'd still be like a cigarette butt burning in the. They all gone home, right? I just look at every. Big Country was recording their big song. The big room was there where they did a lot of the orchestral stuff for Sgt. Pepper and stuff, and that was just a magical. You couldn't help it, you know. There was a microphone that we recorded in all the vocals. You know the big condenser mics they have that you can kind of see through it because it's a big. It was so cake full of crap and stuff from years of singers and performances. Like I started to wipe it, said, don't touch it. It's like it had a flavor to it you don't want to mess with, right? But all the history and that board we worked on was used on all the old Beatles stuff, and we were the last band to use it. It's kind of poetic justice, you know. It's sort of the end of an era. What we did there. So I kept some of the knobs from the old Neve board that have been used in countless great recordings.
Okay. Now, Gord graciously said he would perform, so I'm going to lead into right here. We're going to do acoustic. Okay, we're going to do the Canadian version of MTV, and but we're going to do it better. So you're going to do for the viewers Nova Heart?
Sure, I'll do it the campfire version. Like, just think the original 808 drum machine, synthesizers, you know, a little bit of guitar, and very think of old Ultravox, OMD kind of thing, but it works really well at a different level when you strip a song down. It's pretty amazing. But even our fans go, wow, I never thought of it that way. Or they hear the lyrics for the first time sometimes, you know.
Okay. The floor is yours. Do no.
Oh, jeez. Look at this. Oh, I just happen to have a guitar. You know what this is like?
Hey, look at that.
It's like Anchorman when he says, oh, there's a flute up my sleeve.
Yeah.
You know? Hey.
So you're the musical Ron Burgundy.
That's right. Yeah, I wasn't planning this, but there's a guitar right up my sleeve. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get. But none of us are performing that very much. So you're gonna get a. I'll probably sound like Joe Cocker singing this, but it's all right.
Hey, I like Joe Cocker.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. So again, I'll start it slow because it has. Then I'll pick it up a little bit. Architects of the world, I walk your streets and live in your town. Time will never make architects of the world. You stood us well until now. Soon we'll be on our own. And I'll sleep on over as things come apart. And I'll resting on over at ease with the thought that this never open. This is where the drum machine's got in. Lots of hand claps. You got the idea.
Yep.
Anyways, it goes on from there. But I like doing the slow part because people don't expect that. But I guess that's the thing about a song. You have it long enough, you find out it can exist as a campfire song or as a full orchestral thing. And we've done that song with an orchestra a couple years ago for Canada Day, doing all the parts. Yeah, I don't want to do the whole thing because people don't. I want them to check out the real thing, you know. But which is totally different. But that kind of very un-rock and roll, un-poppy song, and went to like top 10 in Canada on the chart at the time that Nova Heart was on. There was Queen, AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, and who else? Like totally different. Like that song was so different. I never thought it would do anything.
Never heard of any of those groups. Who were those groups?
Yeah. So we were like in good company, but we were like, you know, the black sheep of the family there. We was like, what the heck is this? But when we got the call that it was charting, I said, yeah, right. Because we didn't really care. I mean, we cared at some level about airplay, but we never thought in a million years we'd get played, you know, because it was so out there. But there you go.
Good song's a good song is a good song, Gord.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's still a good song. Like I said, I didn't hear it back in the 80s. I heard it modern day, and I love the song. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a fun song to play because it doesn't really fit. It's a bit ahead of its time or behind its time. I don't know. It's somewhere, so it kind of is timeless in a way. I hope.
It's not curious. It's not. Is that Nova Scotia? Is that where?
No. No, like you know, like a supernova or like a black hole.
Oh, that's right, because you did say you're into the whole. That's right.
Yeah, so it's all. Yeah, I was into science fiction. Isaac Asimov.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know, a black hole sucks. So it's an all-encompassing thing that sucks everything into it, kind of thing.
I got you.
So that could be a relationship, right? Or it could be like something spiritual. You know.
There you go. You remember? What the hell was his name? He was out of Florida, and I actually went and saw a show of his. Jack Hormeyer? He did I can't think of his name. I'm gonna find a clip. I'll email it to you.
Yeah.
This whole thing where you'd go to the planetarium and they'd have you look up and they'd play Rush or whoever's group it was. They would play the music and you'd see all the stars and he'd do it.
Yeah.
I gotta send it to you because I think it's up your alley. Okay, so your third album in '83 is Talk Back, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Was produced by the immensely talented Niles Rodgers. Now you're talking royalty there. Niles is the man.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just at his turning point in his career too. I'll tell you a story about that one.
Go ahead. No, tell me about. Go ahead.
Yeah, because until that point, he was a big producer, but he was just doing, you know, Donna Summers and Chic and also wrote a lot of their songs, more R&B kind of thing, until he worked with Bowie.
Okay.
Doing the Let's Dance album was his turning point, he said. That's where he became more mainstream. And we were the very next record after the Let's Dance album. Okay. And then he did like Deborah Harry and he did Duran Duran, you know, lots of things. And he really became a superstar. But I'll tell you how we met, because we were on the Culture Club tour in '82, off to North America, whatever. And we were already signed to A&M Records out of Los Angeles, and Sting had a lot to do with this because we did a show with Sting at this big 60,000 seater thing in Toronto, and he liked us, and he got us signed to A&M. It's very nice. And it was a knock at the door after a show at the Palladium in New York City, which is now a dance club, I think.
Dude,
and
I used to go to the Palladium.
Yeah.
Nightclub, the one that Steve Rebell from 54, Ian something.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I used to in Manhattan.
Yeah, each floor was like different theme, like and these curtains.
Yeah, I used to go there.
So anyways, a knock at the door. There's Sting and Nile Rodgers. We're a bunch of kids going like, yeah. We weren't even that starstruck yet because we're nothing fazed us when you're a kid, right? Well, not a kid, but early 20s. And then, well, except our keyboard player, he was 15 when he joined them. So telling us how much they loved us, and actually they were there to see Culture Club, and they liked us better, or at least Nile did.
Right.
And we're going, Nile, like we'd worked with John Puncher, very British sound, that. And I didn't see that it would work. And that's very nice. He's a big famous guy, but this is not going to be right for us. But A&M Records talked us into it, and it ended up being, some of the most important years of our career. We're doing 2 records with Nile Rodgers, and he took us in a completely different record, but direction, but sort of kept our sounds miraculously. That was just one night. Like years later, oh my God, Sting and Nile Rodgers came to our change room to tell us how great we were. At the time, it was like, yeah, whatever, we're busy. Not in an arrogant way, but we're so caught up in whatever hairspray and shoulder pads, whatever else we were busy with,
And Romantic Traffic came off of that album, right?
Yeah, the first, there's a Talkback album. The first song, which is actually hit in Canada, called Old Emotions, which we put out.
Right.
That was the first, and then we followed it up with sort of an EP with a bunch of stuff. And there were 2 major hits on that, and they were Romantic Traffic and Tell No Lies. And I tell you, this is the one time in our careers where things could have gone a completely different way, because we did the Talkback album. A&M liked it, but they said, even though for us it was more commercial than we were used to, they said, you know what? It's not quite commercial enough in North America. Can you play something we can really play on the air, American radio? So I wrote Romantic Traffic and Tell No Lies, and they were over the moon. So this is going to break you in America. And they were huge hits up here and other parts of the world. Just as they were about to come out on A&R Records, Los Angeles, the new A&R guy came in and just cleared house. Not just us, but just that. Had a different vision for the label, and our masters were buried in the vaults of A&M somewhere, which were the old Charlie Chaplin studios, if you're a movie nut. Yep. And we couldn't even get them back. They owned those songs. They're probably still in the basement there somewhere, burnt or something. And our world just stopped. And everything could have gone a completely different way with that record, but instead gone. Everything. So we quickly ran back to Canada. The songs became big hits. And we were so grateful for our Canadian fans, but what a lost opportunity that was, And it's so sad because Nile Rodgers put out a best of thing not so many years ago, and he couldn't include those 2 songs on there. He had one of our other ones we did on another one of our records because the Talkback album came out. So he put a song there called The Rhythm, I think. But yeah, it's what a devastating thing that happened. That's like the one, most of our career was like golden, I would say, except for that one little blip, which was a huge one.
Right. Yeah, but it was, but you know what? It wasn't your fault. It wasn't like you were arrogant. No. You had an opportunity and you said, I'm bigger than this, or I want more money than this, or, shit happened. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I know that you wanted to break that way, but you got a lot of stories with artists and, Hollywood movie actors, and they were the reason why this happened. That's out of unfortunately it was out of your hands.
I'm over it now, don't worry. I'm good. Good. Here's the therapy, I'm good.
There you go. I'm telling you, man, you gotta do stand-up on the side. When you stop singing, you gotta do stand-up because he's hilarious. Even in emails, he's hilarious.
Oh jeez.
Okay. So Romantic Traffic. Now that you got that guitar that somehow just came from nowhere, how about Romantic Traffic?
Sure, completely different direction. You think, how would we get from Noble Heart to very British or very pompous kind of Simple Minds kind of album, and then the stepping stone was the Talkback album, which is sort of a bit of both. But by the time we did that record, we're full blown, funky. We even had a brass section on there. We had the Sims brothers who toured with the Moonlight tour with Bowie, and his brass section played on the Saturday Night Live band. It was a whole different thing, and I was second guessing it all the way through until it blew up, in Canada. And the video for Romantic Traffic we're going to play was on the very first episode of Much Music, which is like your MTV. I think the original episode, Welcome to Much Music, we have songs by Duran Duran, Howard Jones, and the Spoons. And the rest was kind of history from there.
So let me ask you this, since you mentioned that. I saw a clip of you on a talk show. It was 3 people. It was you. You were sitting in between 2 ladies. And you were on one side of you, and I think I saw a clip for the show you just mentioned. Was she the host? There was a guy that came in, like the opening was like a camera, and he followed her around. And then she was the host, and she would introduce songs. Is that
you know who that might have been? You would know one of them. Before Much Music, there was a show called The New Music. It was Jeannie Becker, and the host was John Roberts, who's now in the news. He's a news anchor on the NBC or something, right?
I think he's on CNN. Yeah, I know John Roberts is. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a rock and roll VJ in Canada.
So I think that was a clip that I saw you with the 2 ladies. You're being interviewed by a guy in a suit, and I went and looked her up in the show. She was like almost like they don't call them DJs, VJs, like for video.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So Romantic Heart, the floor is yours. Go for it, man.
Yeah, Noble Heart.
I'm sorry.
Noble Heart and Romantic Traffic. Romantic Heart. I'm still medley. How's that? I'll do medley or Romantic Heart.
Romantic Traffic.
Yeah, so it's but again, I love metaphors. So Romantic Traffic is just about all the stuff that happens in relationship, like bumping into each other, passing each other, like whatever, So you change your lanes, Caesar's chance, he passes up ahead. She's losing him in romantic traffic, a place with no signs to tell you where they're going to. Traffic. I do a little bit of it, but that just made me think of a story. That was probably the biggest contribution that Nile Rodgers had on any of her songs. You know that dude section became a huge hookup here, some music commercial.
Yep.
I was working on putting lyrics there, like driving down this, whatever. And he said, "Stop. That's the hook right there. Just leave it." That could have been horrible, what I could have done there.
Well, we're gonna talk, and I don't want to get to it yet, but we're gonna talk about a current song where you go do. And I was laughing because I was looking at the comments on YouTube, and one of your fans said the do is back. They loved that, and they heard it again.
Yeah, and that wasn't planned. It's kind of in the DNA. I can't help it. Sometimes it's like, cool. Some guys do or whatever. I do.
No, I love that part of it. Okay, so a Canadian film came out in '84 called "Listen to the City."
Yeah.
Now I want to read for the viewers the premise. It was Hoopar, I think that's how you say it, wakes up from a 20-year coma. Disoriented, he soon meets, is it Aret? A-R-E-T? Aret? A young poet and sophist, it's not Sophie, it's sophist, a TV newswoman. Together, the 3 team up to expose corporate crime in a crumbling cityscape of the very near future.
I would stay away from that movie. That's like the most boring premise. But you know what it was based on, and they made a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio was Jim Carroll's Basketball Diaries.
Right.
That was Jim Carroll was in the movie, the writer, poet, plays the guy who comes out of a coma.
Yep.
But this movie had Martin Sheen in it. It had PJ Souls, who was like movies like Stripes and stuff.
Yep.
And a lot of those people sort of got smaller parts because Sandy and the Spoons ended up being a really decent actress.
Right.
I mean, she was better than some of the other stuff. So they made her part bigger. I had a cameo in it, which I hated because I'm not an actor. But I ended up doing the soundtrack for that. And they put Romantic Traffic and Telling Lies on that soundtrack to fill it out a little bit.
That's what I was going to ask you because you did the soundtrack for it. Let me ask you a question because I thought I had found the whole movie, but it was only 11-minute clip and the movie's like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Where was I was trying to find your cameo. You weren't the one laying in the bed.
No. It's funny. I play Sandy's a budding singer-songwriter, and I play her music teacher in a quick scene. And I swear to God, I showed up on the set because I would go to the set and watch and then go home and compose, right? And one day they said, "No, the actor is not here. Can you just do this part?" And they gave me some lines, and I hacked my way through it, and I will never watch the movie again because I don't want to see my scene, you know.
Dude, you got all the movies. You like all the movies and all that stuff. You didn't want to go into acting at all?
Yeah, you know, I'm more comfortable with it now. I actually just auditioned for, you know, what is it, the Hallmark Channel? So they have these movies. There's a show called The Good Witch. You might get it up there. Okay. I actually like the show. And I was supposed to be the friend of her husband who comes back from high school and he used to be in a band together. And I auditioned. I haven't heard back yet. So I feel more comfortable with it now, but back then I was scared. Yeah. I probably missed some opportunities. And I actually turned down a part for an 80s movie, one of these John Hughes type things. Mm-hmm. And I always regretted it because I was, you know, too chicken to do it. Okay.
Before we get into some of the more current stuff, I do want to ask you this because you brought it up before and I've seen you talk about it in interviews and so on. I know it was years ago now, and we know you're past it with therapy and everything else, like you said. And now we know the story, what happened with not breaking into North America. But before you answer the question, because I know with psychology background, I know you probably thought about it many times, and as you've gotten older, dealt with it. But you still, it's not like you didn't have a career. You guys are huge in Canada. I know that everybody's, oh yeah, I know I'm huge in Canada. I was #1 in Amsterdam, but I wanted to be #1 in America. Well, you know what? You know who the Escape Club is, Wild Wild West. Wild Wild West was #1 for Trevor Steele and Johnny CRISTO, John Highlight, all them guys. In America, that song didn't break an egg in England. They had to go to the United States.
It's so strange. The same with Flock of Seagulls. They were much bigger in America than they were back in their home country.
Right. But on that, because I want to give you a chance to talk about it, because I've seen you talk about it in other clips, not breaking into North America like you'd want to, and you telling a story a little bit earlier about what happened with the studio and them cleaning house. Is there anything more to that you'd want to say?
No. Well, is there something I'm missing? Is that
no?
You did your research. You probably know the dirt. So what was?
No, I don't know the dirt. No, and you don't.
No.
I don't know.
It worked out fine because you know, I think about. I'm a reflective guy. I guess like psychology, and I watched the Twilight Zone and all this stuff. I always double think. I'm thinking like, you know what? Maybe if that song had been a huge thing, I would have moved to LA and I'd be dead by now. Or something. You know, who knows what could have happened? Like it just set me on a cleaner path and a good life. And I'm in a place like people say something. Oh, you missed the '80s. No, I would not go back for anything. I love exactly where I am and where that sort of trip was taking me. So that's what was supposed to happen. So it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to hit on the Twilight Zone one more time because you talked about something.
Yeah, give me some trivia. Test me here.
Here's my personal favorite one of all time is Walking Distance with Gig Young when he goes back. And that was, by the way, Rod Serling's, that was about him. That was his favorite episode he ever did. And if you remember, he went back and he saw himself as a little kid.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, I get emotional. I watch that one. And little Ronnie Howard, was in that. He was very, very young in that. Also, if you didn't know about Rod Serling, he was a Purple Heart recipient in World War II. So
I didn't know that.
A lot of those episodes about the war were atrocities that he saw went on. And unfortunately, he died in 1975 at 49 years old of a heart attack, or he might have had heart surgery and a heart attack. But the thing that kicked his ass is every freaking time he had a cigarette in his mouth. Like my man Dean Martin. Dean Martin always had a cigarette, and years later, Dean wound up, one of the things he died from was emphysema. And all of those guys, Frank, Sammy, Dean, you never saw him without a cigarette. And you're talking about ones without filters back then. But
you're right. I had a big soft spot for any of those things, sort of going back and, you know, there's another one, getting a kick at the can of, you know, your childhood or going backwards. That's like Next Stop Willoughby was another one, right? Where you have the chance to step out and go on a different, you know, to escape. And I said, that for me, that was a comfortable place. Like other people probably went like, oh, that's creepy. No, that's kind of how I think, you know, and that sort of, so I related to that show more than you know, than people would think.
But you see where you said you wouldn't want to go back to the 80s, that's fine. But you still, like me, I don't want to go back either, because then I wouldn't be, you know, you're with your wife now and your family, your kids are growing, you saw all these things. But not even maybe the nostalgia part of it. I think a lot of people want to go back just in their head because just a different time in the world, you know what I mean? Especially when you get hit with a pandemic like this and stuff like that. But we're on the same sheet of paper. Okay, so moving forward to 2019, you released the album New Day, New World, and I got a kick out of this. because it was on CD vinyl, which folks, if you don't know what vinyl is for young viewers, I know CD sounds great. Me personally, I'm a vinyl guy because I love albums and opening them up and reading the liner notes and all that stuff. And if it was a double album, like Peter Frampton came out with Frampton Comes Along.
I had that album, yeah.
I bet you did. You know, I love that vinyl now. What do they always say? Everything that is old is new. Bell-bottom pants, all this stuff comes back. Even if you hated it then, it still comes back. But I like vinyl. So you released a digital release via iTunes, Spotify. The first studio project, it looked like, for the Spoons in about over 8 years. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, it wasn't something planned because you get to the point, you don't make records every year like when you're in the 80s. It was like a good chunk of time. It's good to not live life, you know, because when you make one album after the next one, they kind of meld one to the other. This way, you got a whole new perspective on things. You know, 8 years later, it's perfect because you live some life, you know.
Exactly. And the single off the album was For the First and Last Time. Now, I got a couple questions about this one. So
Yeah, we'll put my guitar down for a second here. Just all right. I'm glad you made me play acoustic guitar. I don't play acoustic very often, but it's kind of cool.
Good.
All right.
Well, he said to me in the email, he said, "Do you want me to play?" I said, "Yeah." And then I actually said, "Would you be willing to play these particular songs?" And he said, "Yeah," even though now I just blew it that the guitar didn't come down out of the air. So, a couple questions off of that album. First, you told a story in a clip that I saw that was really, really cool, that you worked at the Impulse Music Store. Is that what it was called? Impulse?
Yeah, way back, yeah.
Way back. And having what you thought was a paranormal story. So you told the story on there before, but I want to talk about this cool story. So tell the viewers about whether it was paranormal or it was just in your head, but tell the story because it's a good story.
Yeah. And you probably caught on the reason I told that story was I was asked to do a foreword to a book about haunted locations in Toronto. Right. And the writer of that book ended up producing the video of the song you just mentioned, The First and Last Time. Anyways, he asked me, so I said, what is a musician, you know? But it's more like psychological than horror or haunting, but it is kind of in a way. And I think it maybe explains a lot of hauntings, really, if you think about it. I remember we used to rehearse in a little crawl space, like right underneath the front of the music store that I worked at as a kid when I was 16 or something, before the Spoons even. And sometimes the owners give me the key so I could go back on weekends. We had a place set up with a whole band, like drums. But I'd go there myself sometimes just to jam because I could really crank up my Marshall. But I couldn't do that at home. I ride my bike, a few miles, and lock out of the back store, go in the store, it'd be all dark, and turn the alarm off, and I go down into the basement, walk through all these, racks and boxes, and it was pretty creepy down there, all dark. And at the very end, I had a padlock. There was a beautiful little rehearsal space with all our stuff set up. And I'd be in there, I'd be playing and singing and working on stuff. And I remember one time, I guess your imagination fills everything in. All of a sudden, I was surrounded, like full blast, all the music of a band, drums, bass, keyboards. And it was so freaky that, I just started singing like, hey, you guys are, oh, I stopped. It was almost like a shining moment. And I could hear the cymbal and I go, shh, like, what the hell I was so freaked out that, I knew it was my mind, but it was so real that I had this sort of ghost band around me playing. And I remember just turning my amp off and just, very quietly backing out of there. But it's more just an example of how your mind can fill in the gray areas, But it was very frightening that it could be so real.
Right.
And that could explain a lot of things that people think are real,
Okay.
Your mind is pretty amazing.
Exactly, it sure is. Now, that you answered kind of into my next question makes sense, because when I was watching the video, I said that I saw that clip, I said that has to tie in with the video for the First and Last Time, because this whole paranormal, Sandy's the debunker. And by the way, tell Sandy, I love the expressions on her face. She's got you could tell she acted for a while.
We ripped her about those.
she some of the different looks that she had, I was like, they were great. So,
totally.
Like I was saying earlier, you come fast forward all these years later, and you come up with this album, a great sound. I know it had some 80s sound to it, but it also had a different sound. I feel it did, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. It had some of the 80s flavor, but it also had a different sound. And I enjoyed it because, like I said, not all artists can continue, so, it's like when you go to the 80s music, you get a lot of, and I know you probably dealt with it before. You get a lot of 80s fans like, well, hey, I want to do a new song. And they're like, but we want to hear the old songs. And,
Yeah.
you know, they don't listen. They don't want to open their ears because they want to hear Nova Heart, or they want to hear Romantic Traffic. And of course you want to play them as well because, you know, you want to make the audience happy. But again, you're one of those artists that you introduced some new music. And at least for me, being a brand new fan to the Spoons, I loved it. I mean, I loved the old stuff, and I really enjoyed the new stuff.
And you probably could see that it's the same band. It's not like, oh my God, it's a wholly different band.
Right.
We're very conscious of that, you know.
Right. So with the story that we said it was in your head in the video, just out of curiosity, and now that I know that you and I love the Twilight Zone, are you into paranormal stuff? Would you, well, let me rephrase this question. Would you, Gord, go in a house that they claim is haunted with the crew? You know, these are very big shows now that they do on the TV to investigate, Discovery Channel, different, I think. Would you willingly go in to a house that you knew was freaking haunted with the group and walk around? Sure.
You know, I you know what? I might be delusional, but I think they would pick up on that I'm not a threat and I'm a good guy. You know, get the other guy, the guy with, you know, up the stairs.
Sell your part. Get Sandy. Don't get me.
But no, you know, I find it very. And my father got me into that when I was a kid.
Okay.
And that probably he got me into reading stuff like I said, Isaac Asimov and paranormal stuff like the Third Eye. Remember this writer, Lawson Rampa? Stuff. Other kids are reading like Hardy Boys books. And he got me reading all this alternative thinking. And he traveled a lot. He was into agricultural equipment stuff, like for plantations. So he was in South America. He come back telling me about, you know, the natives tribes who were like having like out of body experiences of ayahuasca. And I wrote stories about it. I'm also a screenwriter and storyteller. So I was interested into the paranormal, alternative thinking, you know, out of body travel and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, so that had to come out in a video. And when this guy approached me writing the foreword to his book about haunted Ontario, whatever, I said, you know, I really don't want to do another video, but what about if we did a video that looked like an episode of like one of these ghost hunter shows? Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what it is, right? So it ended up, and I don't know if you want to ask about this, but we were, like I said, Romantic Traffic was on the very first episode of Much Music, like your MTV. And now that when it came to making a record, I thought, why do videos? Who watches videos anymore? It's kind of come and gone. But you know, when I met Peter Sacco, the director of the Paranormal Show, he said, what about if you did a video that looked like one of those? And because of his connections with that world, he started submitting it to film festivals. And lo and behold, it got accepted about 40 festivals around the world, including Cannes, you know, in France, in Hollywood, Bollywood, in Vienna, everywhere, and winning about half of them, either in a video category or short film, because it is more like a short film than a video, right? And that happened with 3 videos during COVID. Like we actually did some productive things because these film festivals got us seen by thousands of people that would normally not see us.
Right, and that's cool. And also in the video, I like how you had the top hat on and you had the black thing over your eyes. That was sitting there.
Yeah, that's a bit of a gothic. I love. I'm not a big fan of real horror films, but I sort of gothic horror. There was a movie called Gothic. You remember that movie?
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh, love that film. And a bit of Shining, obviously, in there, and those. Yeah, so yeah, we played with those things for sure. And that was actually the idea was to make it a trilogy. There's a second one for a song called what was the second one? All the Wrong Things in the Right Places. Yep. And the third one coming, and each one leads into the next. The All the Wrong Things was more about alien, you know, kind of stuff. And
yeah, there's a spaceship in that one.
Yeah, so there's just paranormal stuff, which, hey, let's make it interesting.
The one with the spaceship, when I was watching it, and I was like, you're definitely into this type of stuff. I was waiting for them to come down and you to do a take on Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and you were Richard Dreyfuss walking up the alien.
yeah.
Walking up into the space.
It wasn't in the budget. It wasn't.
Yeah, but you want to know something? That video was very cool. I'm glad that you went against your first, because you said you second guessed yourself. I'm glad that you didn't second guess yourself and you did the video, because I still think videos are relevant. I wish, you know, I know MTV's not around anymore.
Yeah.
Not really around. I mean, I know they're around, but they're not. It's not like it was. VH1, you had BET, Black Entertainment TV. They had the videos, but you don't have that anymore. I wish that there were videos, and from what I've heard about from the artists is that the companies don't want to spend the money. They don't want to spend the money. And the other question I was going to ask you about videos, it looked like to me that you guys had a lot of fun in the videos, no matter if they were expensive videos or they weren't. You guys have fun in your videos, and not all artists did, because I've asked a lot of artists and they said, honestly, Brad, as the guitarist, it sucked because I had to wait 6 hours, which I understand.
Yeah.
You know, they really want just the front man, you know, or whoever. But you guys, as a group, at least to me, looked like you were having fun.
And as you can tell, I'm a big lover of film.
Yes.
So just to be in that realm, it was like, yeah, I'm an actor. I'm not an actor, but you know, I would love to be. And the music industry isn't that much different than the film industry. A lot of the same players. You got the gaffers and the, you know, like you know, I'm talking about music video world.
Yes.
A lot of the same kind of mentality and that surreal. I always love behind the curtain life. Whether in music or film, and I love that sort of, you know, being on the other side where the magicians are. You know, where the what's it called? Wizard of Oz, like the guy behind the curtain. That's where I feel comfortable.
Yep, great movie, by the way. Okay, you mentioned this earlier. We're going to talk about it now. In your book, Spoon-Fed: My Life with the Spoons, you described yourself as being the quietest, nerdiest kid in school who ended up with the prettiest girl in school. Okay, with your musical success and all that you've had, and still got the cool hairstyle and all of that, are you still that nerdy kid who was quiet, not kid, adult now, nerdy adult who's really quiet still?
Yeah, I would think not that much different, you know, like, which is a good thing, I think, you know, but you'd be surprised. Some of the biggest people I've met in my life, they have a lot of humility. They're very self-doubting people. You meet those people who are just full of themselves and I think everything they put out is genius, right? But even people like that help us along the way, like Sting, David Byrne, I met him, very self-doubting, so very humble kind of people. You wouldn't expect that. Nile Rodgers, who's the other guy I met? Who's like complete opposite, because on stage they're bigger than life, right? But I think that's a very good quality, not just for humility, but also for your work. Because you think everything you put out is brilliant, you're in big trouble, right? You know, that's like, so.
Well, I got to tell you, and I'm going to piggyback off what you said, because I've had on Wang Chung, I've had on the Escape Club, I had on the show before yours was Cynthia Johnson, who was the lead singer on Lips Inc. Funky Town.
Oh yeah, wow.
If you ever want to see a show, watch that one. She got screwed because they even put her on the cover. She got Milli Vanilli, but honestly, the other way. She actually sang, but they didn't show her. But all of you guys have had a level of success. You're in the books. They can't. It doesn't matter. I always tell the artists, it doesn't matter if you have another hit again or whatever.
Yeah.
You are in the books for the success that you had. And the old saying of, so they can never take that away from you. But the humility and the humbleness that I see in a lot of artists that I grew up on and I interview now, I love it. You know, my bones is a boxing guy. That's where I started in this business. And when I met a lot of the people that I looked up to, for the most part, there were a couple jack-offs, as I say, but for the most part, very, 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 very humble. And those are the people that, to this day, still have people that are following them, because it comes across. You know, you know this as well as I do, and especially in your case, when you do these shows, do you do the package? I know you did the Back to the Basement for the First Line Sponsors, but I didn't know if, do you do any of the 80s package?
Not the one that you saw us with, no.
But I mean,
I just with Flock of Seagulls, I play guitar with them, but for the Spoons, we do similar things in Canada, you know, not as big. It's funny, they can't get the same thing off the ground in Canada. It's a phenomenon in America.
Right.
How we can play the Los Angeles area, not even all of California, but like 10 times a year and do great. You know, a smaller place, but we're in Canada, that's the whole tour of the whole country, you know, it's like, it's a different market. And yeah, I'm so lucky to have both, you know. I have sort of my Spoons and then my alter ego, the Flock of Seagulls.
Right.
And yeah, it's the best of both worlds.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, Trudeau a fan of yours?
I don't know.
I've seen him in the audience all the way in the back with Secret Service or whatever they have there.
No, maybe he's too young. Is he an 80s guy? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, how about his dad? His dad was
probably, yeah, for sure. Right.
Okay. All right. Going forward, it's been about 41 years since the Spoons started. Is that about right? 41 years? About 79?
Yeah, let's say 80. Sounds good.
Okay,
1980.
all right, 40. Have you ever said, I know you're one of those guys that you wouldn't want to go back to the 80s because you love everything current day, but have you ever said to yourself, and I know I have, where the hell did 40 years go? It's like you blinked and 40 years went by.
Exactly. It's kind of good in a way, right? Because you don't feel like bogged down by time or regretting things that you missed. And so, it was all really good for us, except that one little blip at A&M Records there. But sometimes, you can be right back in the moment with any of those times very quickly. It's almost like being a time traveler. I can just, get my guitar, especially when you have a guitar. Guitar puts you in the moment. I don't know if people realize that. It's like music is one of those things where you don't think about the past or the future. You're sort of just very absorbed. But when you're there, it's almost like pushing a button on a time machine, because all of a sudden you're back at the Palladium, or you're scared again at your first high school gig. And all those things that are sort of locked up come out when you get lost in your guitar or whatever. Yeah, so you know what? I just forgot what your question was.
No,
Dude, I start going on. That's why people like,
you don't have ADHD, doggone it. Stop
Oh,
it.
I hope I do.
No, you don't.
I hope it's
No,
good.
you answered the question. No, you answered the question. The question was about, did you ever think? See, you forgot the question, but you were right there. So we got to go back to the Twilight Zone for a minute, because you talk about.
Yeah, I love it. More Twilight Zone.
Okay, so Dana Andrews, the actor, remember he was in a time machine and he went back in time. That was one of the Twilight Zones. I think Rod Serling had a couple that were hour-long ones. He did, but it didn't really work out for him. Mm-hmm. It was better in 30-minute segments. But he had a couple, like the Robert Duvall. He was young and he went in the dollhouse and he could see the girl, the doll.
Yes.
And it came to life.
Uh-huh.
But you're talking about going back in time. How about the one with Russell Johnson, who was this professor on Gilligan's Island, and he went back to when Lincoln was shot, and he tried to change it.
I love some of these bit parts where these people went on to do all kinds of things. It was incredible, the talent he had on there.
I bet you like this one, just popped in my head. Remember the one where the guy, he talked a lot, and he made a deal at the Gentleman's Club. It was Franchette Tone was the star. He was old in that. And he made a deal, and he said, I'll bet you, I can't remember if it was $100,000 or $1 million, and he put him in a glass thing, and you have to go 1 year, and you can't say one word.
You know what? I don't even know that one. How did I miss that one?
Oh, dude, I'm not even gonna tell you the rest of it.
What's it called? What's the episode called?
I can't remember the episode title, but I'll send you. Hold on, I'm writing a note. I'm gonna send you the email.
I've got the box set here. I don't know how I missed that one.
Okay, I'll send you an email. I'm writing a note. I won't give you the rest of it, but you'll love that one. Okay, so in 2018, going back, we got to 2019, but going back 2018, you joined A Flock of Seagulls, which my man Kevin Rankin is the drummer in. He joined them. Maybe in 17 or 16. What's it like joining and being with Mike and the boys and A Flock of Seagulls?
Well, it's great, because to me it was like pretty natural, because we all came from some of the same world, and that first gig we did for the police picnic, I remember 1981 or 2, where we were the two young bands. It was the Police, Talking Heads, big thing, and with Spoons and Flock of Seagulls with the young upcomer bands on the bill. Suddenly we were in front of 60,000 people. But for me that day, I'm watching Flock of Seagulls. Oh my God, what is this? We did just the style and the guitar playing just blew me away. And I thought I'm quite bored from that. So very similar, I ended up getting the same amp the guy had and stuff like that. Again, I'm going off on rails here.
No, you keep cutting yourself up. You're answering the question.
I'm time traveling here. What's going on? Get out of my head.
You're right there. I was asking you about what it's like playing with the Flock of Seagulls. You were saying it?
Yeah. We played together. That was 80. I think it was 82. Flash forward like how many years? And Mike was coming to do a charity show up here in Canada. And he just come from New York City. He did the same thing. He just appeared by himself, and had the house band. They asked him to learn like the hits, just join them, right? And I heard later on that he hated them. Whoever that band was in New York City, they were terrible. But he came up here. I sort of half-assed learned the songs, but it's my style, right? Same kind of echo and chorus, and we did the show. And Mike doesn't say much. He's a man of few words,
Oh, I know. I've seen him interviewed.
Yeah. So, but I remember he kept looking over at me, so a little funny smirk on his face, like, oh, I guess it's okay. I don't know. And we did the show. And we didn't say much at all. And it was almost a year later that I was like on a trip in Europe. My fiance, I think it was in Rome or something. We were sitting in a little piazza. I got to tell you a story because it fills out the picture, right? I had a pizza and a glass of wine, and I get this text. And Mike's a man of few words and just said, oh, do you want to join the band? I said, what? Who's this? ended up being Mike, and he didn't say much else. And I said, well, sure, it sounds cool. Like, yeah, let's talk when you get home. And I said, what? I guess I've been thinking about it all that time. And I wasn't replacing the original guy from way back, Paul Reynolds. He was only with them for the first couple of records. But the guy that I was filling or going to replace, he's been with them like 20 years. It wasn't like some kid or something. And I felt very honored. But I think he saw something stylistically. Well, this other guy was like a really accomplished session player, you know, probably better than I could probably do Van Halen, whatever. But he's coming out there with Marshall stacks and a Wolfgang guitar. I said, no, you got to have the JC 120s for the chorus. I got a Firebird like Paul Reynolds did and stuff. So I was in the same mindset. Even if I couldn't play it perfectly, I was in the right space, you know. And I remember the first rehearsal. We had one rehearsal before our first show. They flew up to Canada, and I remember one at a time. Of course, Kevin be the first one because that's the kind of guy. He's a big-hearted guy, right? Yeah. The drummer just got off his drum kit, walked over, and gave me this big bear hug and said, "That was amazing." Yeah. He's just like, well, you know, it was like welcome to the band. And Mike sort of was quietly, he's playing it cool. Yeah, that's good. And the other guys are like, oh. So right away, I felt like part of this family, and I found it very. I had to do some learning, but I found it very natural. You know, it wasn't like I was joining, you know, Pantera or some death metal band or something. You know, it was just in my realm. You know.
Okay. Iran or Space Age Love Song?
I really like Space Age Love Song.
Me too. That's my favorite by them. Yeah, I like
and
it.
It's such a simple thing. This a minor, major thing that happens in the guitar part. Oh, but that's like it's Nova Heart. Our big song is like 3 notes. What you do with 3 notes is more brilliant than people do with a whole symphony, right? You know that what's Husband go da 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 da, you know, whatever. I can't, but it's very simple. Nova Heart. It's 3 notes. Da, 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 da.
Yep.
Anyway, so I would say that's my favorite. The whole first record is, you know, but
okay.
And as a guitar player, it's like new wave riff rock, really. You know, it's a lot of simple riffs. I'm not doing Eddie Van Halen playing, but
right.
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned the missus. In 2019, you got married in Florence, Italy.
Not great.
Isn't that great? Well, and it was great because I was stationed during the Gulf War in the early 90s. I lived further down the boot in Sigonella, Sicily. Okay. And it's a beautiful country.
Oh.
I know Florence is gorgeous too. So talk about getting married over in Florence, Italy.
First time I'd been, no, not when we got married, but she used to go with her mom and sisters because her mom was at university there, so I'm teaching, and she spent a lot of time there and blah, blah, blah. And I was aware of Germany because I lived there, but I never thought, well, you know, Florence, Paris, all the same, you know, whatever, right? But I remember the first time we went and I joined the little group. It was all sisters and the mom, so I'm the only guy, and they thought I wouldn't. And I was the first male they ever invited on the trip. And it was magic. Because you have to think, like, Florence was like the cultural hub. That was like Gotham City or New York City back then. All the great composers and artists, and we should say. And like, there's a church right by where we stay, the Santa Croce or something. There's like Michelangelo's bones are there, and Dante, all these. What the hell? Wherever you go, is so much history. And I fell in love with this place. It's like living in living history, and you're just overwhelmed by it. You know. Then you come home to Canada, and it's like, oh, we got, you know, fast food place in the corner and a mall, and
right. Yeah. Okay. And I got out of order because we've been talking Twilight and all this stuff. So he was, Gordon has to do one more song. So make that guitar magically appear, because you were supposed to do, at that point, a piece of The First and Last Time.
Okay. Oh, by the way, that white one over there, can you see the white guitar? That's one of my flock ones I used on the tour.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Because Mike Reynolds used to use a Firebird. His was a Sunburst. I also have the Sunburst one here. But I like the white one. I save it just for the flock. So it puts me in a sort of frame of mind when you have a certain guitar on, you know? Gotcha. Acoustic guitar, again, I don't know what Mike would think, you know, doing these songs acoustically. Kumbaya, it's very, you know, like, again, this song borrows from Romantic Traffic, which was 1984, the Doot Doots, and magically they reappeared in this song, First and Last Time. It's just a cool little signature thing. Yes, it's about how things are sort of like new again. It could be about relationships, life, beliefs and things, you know, they're sort of timeless, and, you know, it's probably because of what I'm going through in my life. And it's really strange too, that album, New Day, New World, and what we're going through right now, it's like bizarre. People said, how'd you, no, this was written way before that, you know, but
Right.
it's uncanny. So I used to play this on the guitar, but the doo-doo goes like this. Here's a song about you. It's never the same thing twice. When these fall walls surround you and me, I felt my arms around you and stumble into thin air, because I know exactly what you say to me. Everybody. If these words can find you, I'll be there to pull you out. If you get too far down there to breathe, if you get tired, I'll find you and wait till you come around, because I know exactly what you say to me. It's like I meet you every day, what doesn't matter anyway. It's like I meet you every day, and we start again. It's like I meet you every day, so we can throw it all away. It's like I meet you every day, for the first and last time. For the first and last time. Anyways, goes.
I love it, man. Fantastic.
It's very, very, very tug at the heartstrings things, but it's about, I love songs that, like, at one level, it's about relationships. It could be about life. It could be about your career, you know, like so many times I thought it was done, you know. I'm a guy from the 80s, in an 80s band. And I thought when the 80s were done and grunge came in, that was the end.
Right.
You know, but 5 or 6 years later, the retro thing started building again. And here we are making records. It's crazy.
Well, you know, and it's funny you mentioned that, because I've thought about this, like I said, interviewing 80s artists, and all of them said, you know, hey, there was a period of time I couldn't get arrested. I mean, just the music changed.
Yeah.
You know, Kurt Cobain came in, Nirvana, and it was just different, you know. And, you know, Sinatra, you can't get bigger than Sinatra. He went through his phase, you know, rock and roll came in. But for me, and I'm talking to a lot of people, and I think it's for them too, the 80s, you know, every era, our parents said, oh, what is that music you're playing? You know, and when my dad was born in 28, so when he heard me playing Rapper's Delight and stuff going on, you know, Blondie and, you know, early 80s stuff, you're like, what is that music you're listening to? Because he, like, you know, songs written by Cole Porter, Gershwin, and people like that. But I think for me, with the 80s, it was such a different time in the country. I know we had problems, and we didn't have social media where it puts it in our face every day, every second of the day. Yeah. But it was a feel-good time. The music was like feel-good. It really, I mean, it really was. When you listen to the lyrics and you watch the videos, or you see the songs in movies, it just, it takes you back to, I know they say nostalgia. I know it's nostalgia, but it just takes you back to a different time. And as you said, dealing with the pandemic and dealing with how our politics have become, and just the world is, and the world, I don't just want to pick on the United States, the world has come, and humanity, at times I question if it's still around.
What you're saying is we need another 80s. We need more 80s.
We need another 80s. We really do. We really do. But the music is such an integral part of it, because I always say to artists when I have them on, because I have such an immense respect for the women and men that perform. I don't care what level. I don't care if you just performed in the pub and just did covers. It still takes guts to get out there and do it, period.
Sure.
But music is one thing for me that unites people of different colors, different races, different sexual preferences, different genders. It's one thing that brings people together, because you see it in your audience. Young, old, black, white, straight, gay, doesn't matter. It brings everybody together. And I think when you see the 80s, from when I saw the clips, and you look out in the audience, whether you're doing a package deal or you just play, even when the Spoons, you're just doing solo things in Canada. I'm looking at your audience. You guys got the guys with the Mike's hair when he had it back in the day. And then you got older people. They may not be moving as much as the young, but they're still jamming to the music. And it's just universal. You also as well are a songwriting teacher with Song Studio. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did that. Yeah, for a while. Yeah.
Okay, talk a little bit about that because that was interesting.
That's really tough. You know, I started telling people, like, it's such a vague, it's like telling people giving lessons on how to fall in love or something. How do you, it's like, there's like a method, but I don't believe in that. I believe more sort of a natural ergonomic thing that just sort of flows and stuff. And then that's hard to teach people. Now people don't have it, you know, like, I've got different kids. One is classically trained, and that's what they are, but they're not creative at all. Like, she plays in orchestras and the flute, and the other one has never learned to read a note in his life, but he's a genius. And whatever comes out on the piano is like, we used some of his ideas in the last album. He's just probably more in town than anybody since the 80s, really. So it's a really cool thing, and lucky that we're in it and that we have the chance to keep doing it, you know, like.
You Twilight Zoned me just now, by the way.
Yeah, which episode are you thinking?
You saw in the future, because I had a question here. Are your 3 kids into music? And you just answered it before.
There you go.
You better give me the freaking lottery numbers.
We got to have another show with like Twilight Zone trivia back and forth.
You know what? We're gonna do that. Yeah,
right.
We're gonna do that.
Right.
I'm gonna give you a couple episodes to watch, just in case. I'm tell you what, I got an idea. You email me 3 episodes. I'll email you 3 episodes, and we'll do a show talking about those 3 for you and
sure.
those 3 for me. Also, as well, you give motivational presentations, and I would like to get this stuff out on my guest because it gives a 180 for the viewers, because it shows you giving back to humanity. Motivational presentations to public school children with Kids for Kids, and you're also, it looks like, or you were, on the Music Council for Live Lab at McMaster University.
My old university, which is a really cool thing, yeah.
So talk about that.
That is, I mean, I'm surprised it's not blown up more, but this is like one of the few places in the world, I think maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of these, where they sort of study the psychological aspects of music and how it affects your brain and can use it to heal things. We've done crazy stuff where you hook up the audience with electrodes and, you know, bombard them with certain things, and very interesting. And it's my old university, so it's kind of cool to be on that council and come in and be involved in these concerts. The other, what was it? The other place?
You were talking. Music Council was Live Lab.
Yeah.
And it said that you did public motivation.
Yeah, talking to kids. Yeah, talking to kids about
kids.
Yeah, just I bring my guitar and they just let me. It's so funny because most of these kids are like, you know, right from public school up to high school, and they've never heard a Spoon song, but by the end of it, the whole gymnasium is going, and they come up and want to sing. It's so automatic, right? But just about life, and especially, you know, with a lot of immigrant kids, with shy kids, and I tell them how I was shyer than anybody in that room. You know, look what I did, and
people
and
would never
my first.
believe it from this interview, Gord. People would not.
No.
People won't believe this. They'll be
Well,
like,
that's you. You're making me comfortable, right?
good.
And so.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, if you didn't have enough on your freaking plate, because you do a lot of stuff, it looks like, I don't know if you're currently in, I don't know, and I don't know if you promoted them or if you were in it, but it looked like you had or have a pop rock trio called 5 Star Fall.
Yeah, that's long gone, but that was one of the things as the 80s I thought were done. So I could try to reinvent myself, get more guitar heavy, do different things. But that was one of the later ones. I had many of them, Beyond 7.
Lost Boys. The Lost Boys.
Yeah. Lost Boys. Yeah, all these things, you know, just trying things. And I thought I was destined to play like cover songs. I throw my own stuff as well, but the 5 Star Fall was the first step where all of a sudden I go, wow, people take notice again because the music was changing. That's when people were open to sort of those 80s sounds again. And that I never in a million years thought that people ever care about 80s again. That was like, now that's unthinkable because it's so part of our culture, right? Mm-hmm. I tell people it's not even, it's like genre music now. It's like hip hop and heavy metal and 80s kind of music. And you look at the you know, if you still have a record store, there's racks of the stuff, right? Yeah, so it was a time of just trying to stay alive. And I thought that was it. I'd be playing in a bar band. I tried to get into other things. I took architecture when I was in school. So it's funny, the first big song, Nova Heart, starts Architects of the World, you know, just a different level. But I worked for a company doing design on AutoCAD and stuff like this. And I thought, well, I'll still play for fun, you know. And we put out a best record, I think in 1994 or 5, not thinking it would do anything. And that little best of record ended up being one of the biggest tours we ever did. Because people said, oh, we had enough. We want the 80s back, you know? And it was just the beginning. I thought, is it going to last a year, like 2 years? But it's still growing. I mean, it's still a phenomenon in a lot of countries. It's still growing, the retro 80s movement.
Okay. Curious, what is the best and the worst thing of being the front man in the band?
Well, you know, at the beginning, I was scared shitless because I was so shy, right? I don't know. At the moment I got rolling, it's like a truck going, or a boulder going down a hill. I was good. Once I got rolling, right? So that's the thing. If you're at all shy, it is a good thing and a bad thing. Because the moment you get out of that shell, it's exhilarating, right? So I learned that side of it. I don't know. I'm getting off topic.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You get to see you second guess yourself.
You know what? Because you got me thinking about all these Twilight Zone episodes. Like everything is a Twilight Zone episode. This is an episode. Musician comes back from the 80s.
So no, the question was, you were fine. You keep knocking yourself off, and you're actually.
I go down different places.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. So we were saying the best and worst thing of being the front man for the band, for the Spoons.
Yeah.
Spoons, just only group I'm talking about.
Well, the thing is, because I write most of the songs, it's kind of, I don't want some other guy standing up there misrepresenting what it's going to be, you know, what he says, so that's important to me. And even though I'm kind of a humble guy, I project a little bit. I want that to be the image. I'm not like, hey, let's party, you know, like it's more reserved that way. Now that's a good part of it. But I enjoy being the side guy. That's another reason I play with the flock, because I get to sit back and just let Mike do something. You know, like, I'm just going to play and stand there and play some cool guitars and stuff. So both sides are very good. And there was a period in the early 90s when I thought the Spoons are finished. I was quite comfortable never to be a front man again. It's funny, when you're out of the loop for a little while, you start getting a little self-doubting, and I don't think I can do that again. I don't think I got the nerve to get up there and talk again and engage the crowd. Okay. But then, you know, time heals everything and it comes back around.
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that, being shy. I interviewed David Sterry, lead singer songwriter from Real Life, Send Me an Angel. Yeah. And I'm not putting his business out there because he said it on my show and actually touched me. He deals with very bad depression and stuff. And he opened up on my show. I don't know if he
really
ever said it before. And he was like, Brad, you know what? I guess he felt comfortable enough. And, you know, he's like, you know, I don't know if that was, I said, no, there was no right or wrong answer for that. And I didn't ask him about it. He just opened up about it. And
really?
Kevin did too. I don't know if you saw when Kevin came on my show, he opened up about depression and being shy. So I know, and I'm not saying you're talking about depression, but the shy part, that's got to be hard. I mean, that's not, you know, people don't realize, because you seem so natural doing it.
Yeah.
People don't understand it, you know, that you could be shy. That's why I wanted to talk about, you mentioned that in your book, because they see you on stage. You know, we have, you know, Howard Stern is the shock jock here. He's made millions of dollars doing it. What you see when he gets in front of the microphone is not what you see when he gets off the microphone. He's actually like an introvert. He's completely.
Yeah, that's not unusual. I respect that in people. You know, I would hate to think some of these people are that arrogant or that brash or out there. It's kind of you know, it's some humility that I think is really good. You know.
Right. At your age right now, if you could say something to your 20s self, with the experience, being a father, being in the music business for, we'll say 40 years, all of that you've learned, and just life, and having a psychology background and all of that, and your parents being, you know, whatever, what would you say right now to a 20s version of yourself?
Don't doubt yourself. You know, it's on one side it's a good thing because, you know, it keeps you humble and stuff. But there's so many things I might have done, but I said, like I got asked to be, like, I think, one of these John Hughes movies, like to play like I forget the actress name, to be love interest, and I was so I don't think I can do this. Now I'll jump at the chance, right? Just the
missus.
And I tell this to the kids too. Is all those things about you, like you don't have to be the loudest, you know, brash kid in school or whatever your career you're in. It's those things that are real, that make you, you know, the humble side, that make you real, that people enjoy, take back. And something, things I wrote about in the book that were hard to write about because they were kind of embarrassing and they were kind of, I almost didn't write about them. Those are the things people say, I want more of that.
Right.
Because then they kind of relate to it and they say, oh, maybe it's also different than I am. They don't want to hear about all the constant partying, how much money you're making, how great your life is. That's kind of revolting in a way. You know, they want to hear how they're kind of the same. We're all in the boat together, whether you're a dentist or, you know, or work at McDonald's or, you know, whatever.
I got a question for you. Is that the missus in the background?
Oh, God.
Yes, it is.
No, don't tell her to run. Don't tell her to run. I was going to say, tell her to wave to the viewers. They're going to ask.
Can you wait for the viewers?
I didn't know you could see me over here.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay. You know, he said that the sports car was in the garage put up because of the winter. I'm dropping a dime.
Come say hi.
You can say
I
hi.
talked about you. She's a pharmacist.
I know, yeah. I saw
And I tell everybody, every musician should have a pharmacist. No.
I was laughing when you said that in your email. I was
Yeah.
like, you get the best kind of stuff. No, I'm just kidding.
Hi.
No, we've talking all about you. I'm sure it was a bit about you, actually.
Oh, of course.
There you go. And we talked about getting married when you guys got married in Florence, Italy. I was telling him that I was stationed in the Gulf War in the early 90s in lower on the boot in Sigonella, Sicily. And I know it's a beautiful, all of that area is a beautiful, beautiful.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So
Very
you know what,
cool.
I'm going to put him on a spot because this is the best kind of stuff here. Forget the questions for him. So I've given him many, many compliments, even though he second guesses himself. He'll answer the question. He's answering the question, and he's doing great. And then he said, did I answer that question? Perfectly. He answered it.
Yeah.
So for the viewers, what's it like watching him perform at a concert or at a small venue for you?
I still get goosebumps every time. I love it.
Yeah, right.
No, I do.
Because you don't put on a jacket. You're cold all. You're just cold all the time.
No, I love it. I know how passionate he is about his music and how important it is for him to connect to fans and people that enjoy the music as well. And I'm just so proud of him. I'm just so proud of him because I know I can tell.
Isn't that amazing to have somebody like that in your life? And it's for real. It's like, you know, the same with what she does, like, especially what we're going through right now, like dealing with the climate that we're in. Her job is so important and so stressful. Oh my God.
He's very proud of me giving flu shots all day long.
Well, I got to ask, before you met him, this is the $64,000 question. Were you a Spoons fan?
Actually, I was not allowed to go. The Spoons came to PEI, which is where I'm from, a little tiny province in the east coast of Canada. And I was 14, and it was a school night, and my two best friends got to go, and I wasn't allowed to go because it was a school night. And they came back to school the next day and talked about how gorgeous Gord was, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so I didn't get to go. But
you got it. Yeah, she might have saw Platinum Blonde instead. You know who those are.
Yeah, so I have to go see
If her parents, no, they were like the typical, you know, debaucherous rock band.
Okay.
Well, here we are, the really nice Spoons. You know, she didn't have to come see us.
I really like their music. Yeah.
That's cool. Now you heard us talk. This is really cool. I'm so glad that you weren't camera.
Yeah, tell her you want to leave, she can leave. But I like her being here.
No, I wanted to stay because you.
I got the dog too if you want. There's one lying down here.
Well, if you're gonna bring the dog on, I gotta bring. We didn't mention The Godfather. You a Godfather fan?
I am. I don't know any trivia though, but.
Oh Lord! Did you hear us talking about the Twilight Zone?
No, I wasn't allowed to listen to any of the interview. I was banished upstairs. I wasn't sure if he was still breathing down here. I had to go check on him.
Well, I tell you, I had on Gord. You would notice Eric Roberts, the actor. You know Eric Roberts.
Yeah.
And his wife Eliza Roberts. I interviewed them both together, which was like really, really fun. So let me ask you one more question. I'm gonna ask both of you. Put you both on the spot. So, what is one thing you could share with the viewers about him that would maybe surprise somebody in a good way? In a good way. No, in a good way. In a good way. Or you could embarrass.
This is where you bring the dog. Don't I see our dog? It's a great date. It's a really impressive dog.
I like how we segued away from this question so gracefully. Is this an X-rated question?
No, just
I'm
nice.
Kidding. I'm kidding. Nobody would know. Oh, this is golden. Are you ready?
Uh-oh.
Gord is a wonderful homemaker. He does
that's
my laundry.
pathetic.
He does my laundry and
Jen.
he folds it for me.
Well, only when you're saving lives, you know.
And you know what? I should have started out like this. I didn't get your name.
Megan.
Megan, pleased to meet you.
Very nice to meet
You
you.
were supposed to do that, but see, you got shy because you got scared, Gord, that she was going to say something. See,
No, I know.
His job to introduce you, really. Instead
She was about to say something else, and I kicked her. I kicked her under the table. Just make it really boring. He makes
Okay.
dinner.
No, they'd probably be those. I'm just kidding about the other, but Gord is as much as a persona as he is on stage. We both love to stay home, and we're just homebodies. When he's not performing, we're home watching.
They don't want
movies.
these.
We're like the most.
They want some
boring
juice.
couple.
Give him something juicy.
No,
Not
you
that
said
boring.
G-rated.
No, they don't. He what?
He said G-rated, not X-rated.
No.
No. But we're very, very, very just. We like just staying home, being with each other and the animals, and just watching movies and just quiet. Like we're not very.
That's what our lives have come down to. But it's wonderful.
There's nothing the matter with that? What's wrong?
Yeah. No.
That's what's
No.
wrong. Okay, now flip it. What's one thing that you would say about Megan?
I think it's the first time in my life I can just be totally myself, which sounds so cliche, but especially being a guy from the 80s, you're always putting on a persona. You're always that guy, or you can't let your guard down. You got to be cool. I mean, we know stuff, everything about each other. We can not anything I could say or do would make me embarrassed in front of her, and the support is unbelievable. You know, especially when being a guy who went through the 80s, thought it was over. And then it slowly came back, and then to meet somebody like Megan who's there just as it's coming back as a partner to share it with is pretty cool.
It is cool. I appreciate that completely, because my Debbie is the same way, supportive of everything that I do, even my big mouth part, because she puts up.
And the nice thing is too that we go on these tours, like the Lost 80s, everybody loves her because she's easy to get along with. She's a sweet person, but also because she's a pharmacist, so they all come with questions.
But I can imagine the running joke has to be he gets the best pills, right? I mean, I know you heard it 1,000 times. I mean, I can't take like that's original.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give you a chance, unless you want to hold on to it. Do you want to put your guitar up, or do you want to hold on to it?
It's a safety blanket, right?
I figured it was. Okay. So now we're going to segue into the second half of the interview. Now, I'm willing, Megan, to include you in this part, because these are just fun questions. If you want to stay, my viewers would love it. But if you want to go, you go. I'm not kicking you out, but I'm more than happy to interview both of you.
Actually, I have to go pick up dinner for us, because it's I'm picking up a PEI lobster dinner for us. So
when you say P, what is that?
Prince Edward Island.
Okay.
Which is like Maine, right? Kind of like Maine. It's very up north of. It's like Maine lobster or stuff. It's the same kind of thing.
Nice.
It's a separate island. It's a tiny little island. I think it broke off from Scotland and floated over or something.
No. But I'll let you guys chat.
Okay.
And
All right. Well, it was nice meeting you. Thanks for
it was
coming.
really nice meeting. If you're still at it, I'll come back down after.
All right. See you later.
Okay. We're going to segue into just random questions. There's no wrong answers. I think you're really
I'll
going to
take this away. I'll put this away then.
Oh, there's the dog.
Huh?
There's the dog behind you.
That's a little one. That's a rescue from Thailand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that actually lived on the streets of Thailand, and the other one is a Great Dane, which is like 120 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
And they get on like two characters from a Disney movie.
That's funny. we got two. I named him after the Godfather, Santino Corleone, who James is my Havanese, my little boy, and then we got a little girl named Bella.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, you're gonna have fun with these questions now that I know you.
All right. Let's see.
All right. First one out the gate. Favorite, which you kind of said it earlier, but let's go back to it. Favorite genre of movies, even though I know you said it.
I flip-flop, but I mean, what would you put, like something like a hot, like sort of old black and white? Those snap, you know what, the snappy writing? You know, where there's like bang, bang, every line was magic, you know?
Yeah, that's comedy. That's almost kind of like burlesque comedy.
Yeah.
That's a comedy.
Yeah, but it was like the writing on those things is like, there's no wasted words on those things. And then you got these great actors. And I love, anything to do with sort of little fantasy world. Like realism doesn't appeal to me that much. It's got to be like, imagine a guy dressing as a woman so he can sneak in on the train with Marilyn Monroe. And it's just like, oh yeah, I want to be in a band. What kid would want to be in a band to get that chance, So I do like sort of surreal, playful things like that. Nothing too realistic.
And so I know you love the last scene in Something Like It Hot when they're on a little motorboat and Jack Lemmon is still in drag and Joey Brown is the guy with the blue blazer.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm a man. He's that's okay, or something like that. It's
No
all
one's
right.
perfect. He goes, no one's perfect.
No one's perfect. No one's perfect.
It's one of the best final lines of any of
Hilarious,
movie.
hilarious. And I love for my viewers, look this up because I know I got a lot of younger viewers. There were two Scarfaces, believe it or not. The original was 1931 or 32 with Paul Muni and George Raft. And George Raft was famous in it because he flipped a coin. Well, as you know, George Raft he was a gangster in Some Like It Hot, because I think he played, what was it, Spats or something? He had the
Yeah, Spats.
yeah, he had the things
exactly.
in his shoes.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. One or two, I always say one, but I know it's kind of hard. Favorite, and you got some posters there we talked about early on, but what is your favorite movie of all time? If you don't have one, maybe two.
But I already mentioned Some Like It Hot because I
Right.
like the whole premise, especially as a youngster, sort of dabbling in music, to be, you know, a musician thrown on a train in Prohibition era, you know, dressing as a woman to get away from the mob, but then sharing a bunk with Marilyn Monroe.
Okay.
Little, you know, music mixed with the surreal and stuff. I love that. But there's newer movies that I can watch over and over again too. But that one is definitely, if there was one, you know, that stands up. I mean, I kind of drawing a blank right now, but you know, that era. But I'm not stuck in old black and white movies. You know, there's even some current stuff. Definitely stuff that sort of is a bit dreamy, sort of surreal, an alternate view of things. You know.
Okay.
Not too real.
I love
Oh, here we go.
I love
There's the Great Dane, Luca.
I heard him barking. What's his
They
name?
usually cut their ears, but this is a girl, so we left her ears.
Oh,
down.
girl. Okay. What's her name?
Luca.
Oh, Luke. Okay.
Remember that song?
Yeah, of course. I live on the second floor or something like that. Was one of the lines.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And-
Look at that. That's love.
That's good. Very good, Doug.
And the other dog's name is?
Bali,
Okay.
which is like another foreign place. Oh, she hears the dog's gonna growl. Okay, go on.
And that's funny. That's okay. That's what I love about doing this. You a big Monroe fan? Just out of curiosity. I know you love the movie. But
Who was that?
You love Marilyn Monroe? Are you like a big fan of Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe because as a child growing up, that was like the first real sex symbol, right? And Emma Peel. Remember The Avengers? Do you remember that British TV show?
Yeah.
She was right up there too. Yeah, but definitely Marilyn Monroe as a fantasy object, and who was so approachable. You know,
Yeah.
she wasn't as aloof. She's like, you know, that girl at school, like that you admire from afar. Yeah, for sure.
Who is your personal favorite musical band?
Oh, jeez. Oh man, it depends on my life. You know, we're growing up prog rockers, and I was a big Genesis fan of old Genesis, like the old stuff with Peter Gabriel. And then, you know, yeah, I have to admit, right now, probably my favorite three that I never never get tired of are still Chili Peppers, Oasis, which is a little different. I love the Verve. Like Richard Ashcroft is brilliant, I think. But I like new stuff too. Once in a while, I hear something, you know. But for, you know, I was going back to something that's unfamiliar with that. There's certain genres I completely bypassed, you know, like when everybody else is listening to, you know, disco and that kind of stuff in the 70s. That's when I went to progressive rock, you know, which kind of led nicely to the Spoons. And it's going to make sense when you
Okay.
look at it.
Okay. So it's a romantic evening in your household. Okay. The dogs are up. You fed them. They're somewhere else. And you're going to have a romantic evening. Candlelight, the lobster. Geez, you're making me hungry. I'm gonna take Debbie to go eat when we get done. Who do you put on for a romantic evening?
Oh, jeez. You know what? I'm a musician, and this might sound weird, but it would distract me. To me, music isn't just background.
Okay.
The moment we put the music on, I start analyzing, or I start, where's that bridge going to go? And what guitar, is that a Strat or is that a Les Paul? You know, like, so it's got to be really quiet. I don't put on the news or something, but, you know, it would just have to be instrumental to start with.
Well, okay, instrumental. Okay, who would you put on? Percy Faith? Who are you going to put on?
James Last. No, here's a movie thing. Remember Bernard Herrmann?
Of
the
course.
great movie composer?
Yeah, he did.
And I was
Bernard Herrmann did music for the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, he was like unbelievable. And it's funny you mentioned that. A good friend of mine from Burlington who was in the rival band of the Spoons won Oscars making soundtracks. His name is Michael Dana, and he did Life of Pi,
Yeah.
the Hereafter or something beautifully. But here, yeah. So yeah, that kind of thing.
Now wait a second. I want to make sure because we both were saying it at the same time. You said Bernard Herrmann, right?
Yeah.
The Bernard Herrmann that did music for the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, and all kinds of big, dramatic.
Yeah, no, I know. But the reason why I know that name is I'm almost 100% sure because I've researched this big time. I told you my favorite episode is Walking Distance. He did the music for Walking Distance. It was just great music.
I didn't know that. I'll have to listen to it again.
Because I've listened to just the music from it on YouTube. Did you know we were talking about Walking Distance? You know the story behind Gig Young that was the star of it? You know what he did, right? Gig Young was
wasn't he a Western country, like a cowboy film guy, or?
Well, you're right. He did well, not just Western. He was basically supposed to be the next Cary Grant, but he was a big actor, but he wasn't as big as Cary Grant. He wasn't larger in life like Cary was, but he won an Oscar for They Don't Shoot Horses. I think that was what it was called. I think I could be wrong, but he won an Oscar, and he committed suicide. And he killed his he was a bad alcoholic. And because I read his book, his biography was called Final Gig. But very good actor, but he was very good in that. Okay. Yeah. Favorite concert that you've seen to date would be who?
Oh, jeez.
I know it's a tough.
Some of these might, I think it's always the lasting impressions of certain shows that even if they're at the beginning of your life, like very first concert I ever went and saw was Alice Cooper, Billy Dollar Babies tour. Which is for him that was Ezrin that produced that. That's a big. That's not just fluffy rock and roll. That's like a masterpiece, right?
Right.
And then also seeing, believe it or not, like 5 years ago, I saw the Coldplay tour. Not everybody's cup of tea, but bigger than life. It was you leave there like it's like a religious experience. A lot of the big greats I've never seen. I've seen the Stones, but I haven't seen U2. There's a few others like that. But sometimes even the smaller band, just one little band. I was bands that leave an impression on you for days. You know who did that the first time was the singer. I get drawing a blank. The singer from STP. What's his name? He just passed away. You know STP or
what is it called?
STP, the band STP.
I don't know.
Stone Temple Pilots.
Oh, Stone Temple Pilots. Okay.
Yeah. I went and saw them, and that one of those things where the performer was so bigger than life. By that time, why am I drawing a blank?
Is Stone Temple Pilots Chris Cornell?
No, I got a mental block. Somebody call in because I've got. It's what I'm drinking here. No, he came out bigger than life. He had he spent some time in jail. I think he had like a little strip of hair, like a mohawk kind of thing, stripped to the waist with gloves up to here and a feather boa. Okay. And why do I have a mental block? But one of those guys, I was haunted for days by the intensity of his. He's sort of on the monitors like this,
Right.
But it left a big impression on me. There's a lot of. There are still great songwriters. Like last year I was blown away by a concert. Was it last year or the year before? It was a combination of what's his name? I'm really drawing blanks. That's what happens in isolation. You forget people's names. It's just foggy. It is like a Twilight Zone episode.
Yep.
I got sorry. I do have to stop it here. I just can't remember the name of the band. The guy, this ball singer from the '80s, Seattle.
REM.
No. Why can't I remember the name of this band right now?
Can you think of a song?
That Siamese Dreams was one of their albums. They're from Seattle, I think.
Okay. I got me. I probably would know if you said it. Okay, let me.
Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh,
sorry.
Smashing Pumpkins. Billy Corgan.
Billy Corgan.
Yeah.
So you got to cut these parts out. They think
this is the best part. No, I ain't cutting.
Anyway, it was Smashing Pumpkins. An opening for him was one of the Gallagher brothers. Which one? I forget. I get them mixed up from Oasis.
The water.
It was Noel Gallagher.
Okay.
And I thought, pretty brave of Smashing Pumpkins, Billy Corgan to one of the greatest songwriters of our generation, opened for him. But you know what? They were both brilliant in different ways. And that was one of the best concerts I've seen in a long time. That one.
I'm dating myself because when you said Gallagher, I jumped the gun. I thought Gallagher with the freaking watermelons, the guy that smashed them up. You know what I'm talking about. Most of my audience won't know what I'm talking about.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Gallagher. Okay. Your favorite, now this is solo, male singer.
See, I like real. When anybody starts singing like they're on like American Idol or something, I can't I can't
I
take
don't
it.
watch
I got
shows for the most part.
no. It's like they're trying. It's generic. It's everybody sounds the
Right.
same. I'd rather have somebody flawed a little bit and be real. I mean, and growing up, Peter Gabriel would have been that guy.
Okay.
There's something about the quality of his, but also like any genre, it doesn't really matter. But if the guy sounds really true to like their own thing, that they're not trying to be Elvis. They're not trying to be, you know, something. I just really gravitate toward that.
Okay.
Current singers, just,
No, this is Henry. No, this is Henry.
yeah, no, I'm just trying to think of that's way back then. I like Peter
No,
Gabriel.
no,
for
anytime.
sure.
No, new or old,
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, for sure. You know, I always like the Oasis vocals. It's sort of the working man's kind of thing, not trying to be perfect. You know,
Okay.
I don't like the American Idol type perfect singing. You know, I find it a bit sort of unreal and not sincere. So, yeah. So those guys, you know. But then again, somebody like Paul Kaitis from the Chili Peppers, like he's not a great singer really, but he's got a thing that I love. It's so honest. You get the guys in front of you, flaws and all, right? I love that thing. Rather than I go to school learning how to sing like an opera singer, and here we go. It's like, nah, no,
All right.
not my thing.
Flip that question. Who's your favorite female singer?
Oh, I mean, growing up in the '80s, Annie Lennox, all the time. You know, she was just wonderful.
Amazing.
That's too easy, right? That's really easy.
That's who Nick felt.
I like Kate Bush growing up too. Kate Bush, you know, our generation, like, and also like Chrissy Hynde a lot. Actually now she's still great. She's timeless, right? Some of these artists transcended the '80s, and they will for always, you know, always be great. Yeah, those kind of people.
Nick Feldman from Wang Chung picked Annie Lennox, and I don't know if it was Jack Hughes. I can't remember, but they picked Kate Bush as one.
Yeah.
It might have been Jack from Wang Chung. I can't remember. Okay. A song, it could be one of yours, it could be it could be yours. You know what I was thinking with that part? I know it's not the same, but it puts me in the same mind of, and it's not even a question, when Lou Reed did Take a Walk in the Wild Side Road.
Yeah.
And the girls in the back, you know what I mean?
And there was a song by a German '80s band called Freuer. Remember them?
I'd have to look it up.
Had this sort of thing too. So you know, nothing's new, I guess.
It's okay.
But it's better than yeah or hey. You know, I got the beats.
Okay. What's the song that comes to you in the shower, or when you got to pick up Megan because her car's put up and you got the Forerunner or whatever? What's a song that comes in your ears that you hum? Whether it's one of the Spoons or it's somebody else, but it comes to you a lot. It's just a song.
You know, usually I'm working on stuff, so it'd be whatever I'm working at the time, and it drives Megan crazy because she thinks I'm humming like the Village Idiot or something because it doesn't make any sense to her. But there's certain things that are melodies that, like Bittersweet Symphony. I don't know, that sort of repetitive kind of very triumphant kind of thing would pop up in my head. And yeah, that's the scary thing as you get older as a musician. A lot of time when you're working at things, people think you're going mental or something because you're sort of mad humming to yourself. But I'm working. I don't want to sing out loud, so I'm working on things.
Okay.
I go through the whole Spoons catalog in a walk, you know.
Okay, cool. Now, maybe you have this or maybe you don't. Are you a car guy? Or in your younger days, were you a car guy or not really?
I like cars, but I've never had anything, you know, crazy. You know.
Okay.
No, I'm sensible when it comes to cars.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your personal favorite noise or sound?
Oh my Lord. I think soft rain, maybe.
What is it?
Soft rain.
Soft rain. Okay.
Ever since I was a kid, I love thunderstorms. I like being caught in the rain. It sounds like a romantic song. I'm gonna break into song here. Yeah, just that feeling of being safe from the cold, or just being on the edge of it and hearing the rain or the wind and distant thunder.
You remember R&B? I can't think of the name of the group now. It wasn't the Delphonics. It was I Want to Go Outside in the Rain. You know that song?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah. Well, I was born in Vancouver. You have a lot of rain there, so.
You got that right. Okay, now flip that. Least favorite noise or sound?
Oh, man. Anything high pitched, you know? Chalkboard, nails on chalkboard, and, you know, anything squeaky, high frequencies kind of thing. Maybe that's quite, I'm kind of a lower singer, so everything that's down that sort of lower register is my safety zone. You get too high, you get really high singers.
Okay.
Quite freaks me out too. You got dogs howling up there. You got airplanes taking off. You know?
Okay. Megan's going to get some of it, so I got a feeling that you both love this one. But what is your favorite food?
She's picking up. She's from the West Coast, I mean, the East Coast, PI girl.
Right.
So I swear to God, we go to PI. You walk on her beach, their cottage. You just get the oysters off the beach, go and wash them and eat them, like they're right there, right? But so I like seafood too. But you know what? I'm happy with a really good bowl of spaghetti. You know, that's just that's like comfort food to me. You know, nothing extravagant. And I heard that we're talking earlier about crooners. I heard that story about Dean Martin too. You know, then we were talking about the greats.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that I guess he had a really sad thing where his son died young.
I could tell you an interesting story about that. Go ahead.
Well, what I heard is that he would go to the same Italian restaurant every day in the same corner, order the same plain bowl of spaghetti, and eat it there. What a kind of sad.
Well, I tell you, I'm a huge Sinatra.
Oh, sorry, the great.
He's singing That's Amore. He's singing that. She's singing That's Amore.
Look,
That's funny.
Okay. I've had to stop and get rid of her. I don't know. Hey,
no.
Luca. Her name is Luca.
Yep. That's Susanna Vega, right? That does that song?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
But it was about a guy who lives on the second floor.
No, I think it was about little. Actually, I think it was about abused child.
Look at this. Look at this guy. He's friendly. Okay, good. Just trying to protect me.
There you go. Talking about what you did with Dean Martin. Sadly, his son was in the Air Force Reserve, and he was a pilot. He hit a mountain in Vegas in 1987. He was married to Dorothy Hamill one time. Wow. But here's the strange story, and this is 100% factual. This particular mountain ties in Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra, but in a sad way. In 1977, Dolly Sinatra, Frank Sinatra's mother, was going to see Frank perform in Vegas. On the other side of this mountain, her plane crashed, and she was killed. Everybody was killed. 10 years later, Dean Martin's son, and he actually was junior, Dean Paul Martin Jr., hit it from the other side, as you know, and that's true. It was sad because Dean Martin was a good-looking guy in his day. I mean, he had charisma out the ass when he was on the show and the whole thing. And he would go to that restaurant. I can't think of the name of it because there's actually a video, and it's sad, of him coming out, and he was real thin. And he didn't have his teeth in his mouth, and you could tell he gave up. They said when his son died, it took him 8 years to die because he died December. Yeah. Dean died December 25th, 1995, and he gave up on life. But it took him 8 years to pass on. He just didn't care anymore. He just gave up.
Are you trying to cheer me up?
Yeah, I am.
Well, it's one of those stories I never forgot either when I heard that. Just that it was such an entertaining guy who's made these funny, movies, and to go out like that is just unfair. I know. Yeah.
Pre-COVID, favorite vacation destination?
Well, apart from Florence, Italy, we go there every year. We would have gone. We had our flights booked and everything for this year. I just like the culture and the stuff. I just love to travel, and that's one thing later in life. And it's completely different than touring. People say, well, we've toured all, it's not the same because you live in hotel rooms and drink bad coffee and stuff. But when you're seeing the world, that's my biggest quest now, is to see as much as the world. So I want to travel as much as possible. So far, Florence is wonderful, but there's got to be a million Florences out there I don't know about yet, right?
Okay.
Like so many places. And they're not just in Europe. I'm not a snob. I found places in America that just blow my mind. Like on these tours with Flock of Seagulls, I see cities I've never been to or haven't been to since the Culture Club tour in '82, wherever it was. It's like, oh my God, these are like Chicago's like Gotham City, or these are like bigger than life, beautiful places. And so there's wherever you go, there's magic.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we're actually 30 minutes from Chicago. We're in Northwest Indiana, but don't tell nobody.
Yeah.
Okay. If you were to hit the lottery tomorrow, $200-300 million lottery, what would be the first thing you do?
I'm gonna sound like a crackpot or like I'm fake. First of all, you don't need that much money, right?
That's fine.
So you try to make as many people happy as you can with that and solve as many problems. I'm not making millions of dollars anymore, or never really did, but I'm happy with what I have. So I may do a little bit less. Maybe Megan doesn't have to work as much, and make sure my kids are taken care of and the dogs are fed, and just travel more. Travel more. I don't need another guitar, like another fancy car and like that. Just to see more of the world. There's so much I've missed because I was traveling in a different realm. You think, oh, you're touring the world, you know? Yeah, but you don't see the world really that much unless you're Rush. We're on the same level as Rush. Those guys enjoy themselves when they go to a city. They don't party. They hire a tour guide, get a tour of the cities, go to museums, drink fine wine. They're very cultured.
Now I got this visual of Geddy Lee getting a tour going around, huh?
Oh yeah, you can't go to his house with a cheap bottle of wine. Those guys are cultured.
Okay. If you could meet one person from any time in history, they could be dead or alive, and that's any time in history, who would you like to meet, and what would your first question be for them?
Well, you know, Rod Serling would be up there, you know, and now we're talking about him because he was not of this time or this planet. He was like his thinking, and you see him in interviews, the fights he had with networks to do what he did, and the long-lasting impression. Like I said, it impressed me. That show impressed me more than anything and still does. I watch it now and I still get the creeps and some of those things, and I see why I think certain ways. So he's definitely one of those guys. I mean, there's certain
what would you
I live
ask
in the
him?
fantasy world.
What would you ask him?
You know what? I would ask him of all the movies that he made, because he always had a message, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it was not easy to take, but he always had some conclusion, and sometimes things we hadn't even thought of before. It wasn't just life and death, but really deep down fears and things. Like I say to him, what is the ultimate answer to everything? Because he explores so many things that would haunt you for days, right?
Well,
sometimes you didn't understand what he was trying to say.
right. But and you know what? And you probably noticed. You know he was Jewish, right? Did you know that?
No.
He was Jewish, and think about it. Remember the episode he did in the concentration camp? Dachau, I think you said. Debbie would know the exact name. He had that episode. You may not remember. There was an episode with prisoners of war in a concentration camp, and the guy that was the Nazi officer, they made.
Oh, they changed, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And he saw the ghost of him, and they got him. I'll give you another Rod Serling fact you may or may not know. Did you know the original Planet of the Apes, the 1968 version with Charlton Heston? Rod Serling wrote that.
Very good. I love this information. I thrive in this stuff.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that. I don't think I knew that.
It's Rod Serling,
Wow.
the original one. Yep. Okay. With everything we discussed, in a few thoughts, Gord, if you had to sum yourself up as a human being, what would you say?
I've been here to observe. Maybe, I don't know, you know, maybe for somebody else. I'm passing along the information. Now, I've always felt like an outsider all my life. I've never been part of the party. Even though at points we've been on top of the heap, we've done, you know, on big stages with people. And I remember so many times standing and looking at each other. It's just the same way. Big shows, even the police picnic with 60,000 people, and going like, what is this? What's going on? I never got so absorbed in it. So I'm like the constant outsider and observer, which is bad sometimes. I'm going to get lost in it. And I do sometimes, you know, and I'll snap out and go, what was that? You know, but yeah, that's how I feel. And maybe there's a reason for that. You know, that's why I write books, and that's why I try to make sense of things, which really don't make sense anyway. And you can't explain it. And blame it on Rod Serling and Twilight Zone. Right? Swear to God.
I'm going to add on to that because I think that was a hard question for you to answer. And some people have a hard time answering that one because it's hard for them to say it about yourself. So I'm going to add two observations that I think are fair, and my viewers are going to probably, I'm pretty sure they're going to agree. Deb, I know will when she watches this. You're very humble, which comes across in your performances on stage and watching you in other interviews, clips that I saw. And you're very giving. Because when I asked that lottery question, there's no right or wrong answer. If someone says buy a house, I'm not mad at them. I don't care. They can do whatever they want. But most of the musicians, most of the people I've interviewed, but most of the musicians, first thing they say, I want to take care of somebody else. I want to fix somebody else. That's very giving. Because, you know, I always say it's a beautiful thing. Humanity is bigger than all of us. And it's a beautiful thing to see somebody give back. But I always tell people we love that and we appreciate that and we respect it. But it's not a requirement. It's not a requirement of an athlete to be a role model for kids. Though we want that, like Michael Jordan. They always crack the Michael Jordan. He really wasn't a role model. It wasn't his thing.
Yeah.
But when we see it, we appreciate it and we like it, especially if our kids look up to somebody that's a positive figure.
Absolutely.
But I always say, be fair to the person, because not everybody is meant to be a role model. They still could be a decent person.
And you have to understand, I feel almost guilty saying that, because when people say that, it's, oh yeah, he's full of it. Like, he's just trying to be Mr. Humble. But I feel so lucky what I've got. You know, it's like, I don't need anything more except once in a while I may look at a new guitar, but I've been getting rid of stuff more than,
Right.
and that's what Nile Rodgers just did too. He's followed him, but he made a lot of money, and he put up for auction all his guitars and his car collection, which is like unbelievable, from like Bugattis to anyways, all the collectible cars, and most of it was going to charity. He said, "I've had it enough. Now it's time to give back people." And as cliche as it sounds, there's a point in your life when it feels really right. It doesn't feel like you have to do it, but it's like, my God, if I don't do this, there's something wrong with me.
Well, I said to you earlier in the interview when we first started, I watched clips of you and Sandy doing stuff, and that's why I said I see that little mischievous side. Even though I know you say you're quiet, but you guys play off each other well, and she's got one of those personalities that I like. So I've seen you do interviews together, and it's not like you're trying. And I've seen bands and I've seen actors do it too, where they try and outshine. Like, I got to one up you. I never was a one up person.
Yeah.
If you got something that's cool, I'm cool. I want to talk more about what's cool for you. That type of thing. But you're definitely humble. It comes across. With everything, with all the interviews you've ever done, with the Spoons, whatever it may be, big or small interviews over the years, is there one question that an interviewer never asked you, and you always said to yourself, I wish he or she would have asked this particular question? And if there is, or what's the answer?
Oh my God, that takes some thought though. How can I come up with that? Because there was a time when interviews were just like, so how long has the band been together? What's your biggest show? What guitar do you? And I remember the very first time that the way we talk now was not the way we used to do interviews. I remember the first time I was interviewed by somebody from university and was on the Culture Club tour. They came on the tour of us, and they started this alternate kind of, I want to say Howard Stern, but a different kind of approach where it's very loosey-goosey and going off in tangents, and now it's thrown for a loop. Now it's normal, right? And he asked all those important questions that I wish I had. Now I have the answers because I've lived life. And I was like, I didn't know what to say, because he was asking me like serious life questions, not like what kind of guitar do you use and stuff like that. So I don't know how to really answer that, Yeah.
All right.
No, I want to say something more about it, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay, no, that's fair.
Sorry, that was a bad question to put near the end. Ask me again. Ask me again. I'll be better. I got myself collected here.
Well, you're answering your question now again, and we want to come back to it. I tell you what I'm going to do. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to save that question when we do the Twilight Zone show. And folks, you heard what he said. I'm going to hold him to it because I could do it in my sleep. We're going to do just a Twilight Zone show, which I think people are going to really enjoy. Oh, by the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this, Gord. Pick up Anne Serling, his daughter, wrote a book. It's upstairs on the bookcase. Something, I forget what it's called. Stories About My Father or something like that.
Yeah.
And we follow each other on Twitter.
Did she get into the film or TV world at all?
Yeah, but she talks about the Twilight Zone too, and stuff that he endured. And there's letters that he wrote to his wife when he was in the war and all that type of stuff.
But did she go on to be a producer or witer or anything?
No, honestly, I can't remember what she did. But I don't think she did anything like that.
He was too messed up after all those episodes.
Exactly.
Jeez.
Okay, last question in the interview. I always close on. Do you have a saying you live your life by? And if you do, what is it?
Oh my God. These are really, really good questions. Wish I had some really good answers. But you know what? This sounds really weird, but I don't say it as much now because we're not, at the peak of our careers. But like when Sandy and I were standing on those stages looking at each other, very humble, like, what is this? What is going on here? It's like, and people say, oh, you're a star, you're this. You know what? I always said to people, it's only music. And sometimes people will be offended. Like, what do you mean? Like, but man, if you have, kids, you have families, you see, it's a wonderful thing that we do, and there's moments when you think you're the king of the world and everything's wonderful and make people happy and they smile. But in the end, it's just music, and it's not like, we're lucky people need it, but it's not a necessity of life. So we're very lucky that people hold on to us for a little while anyway, and keep us busy.
I'm gonna agree and disagree with you on that. For some people, it is a necessity in your life, your music, because your music, whether it's the Spoons or Sting or Annie Lennox or whomever, resonates with people on different levels. I can tell you for a fact that these shows with guys just from the 80s, I'm on an 80s kick right now, but I've interviewed anybody and everybody in the business if I had the opportunity. But your music, all these years later, and I can tell you this for a fact, when I put the presser out on Twitter, because that's really my social media one that I use the most, there are people that remember you from way back in the day that said stuff. So your music is, I understand what you're saying, and I know you're not degrading it, but I get what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying, but it does resonate.
I just pull you, like, I just say this to seem really super humble. I'm actually, no, and that's partially true, but, you know, it's not like, of course it's got value and it changes people's lives and gives them comfort and all those things, but maybe because we were pretty real people from Burlington, Ontario, a little town that's outside of Toronto, so we were totally outside. Yeah, we never took it that seriously that we became, maybe that's why we stayed pretty normal and a family and something like that. But we are definitely grateful that we've affected people and they get so much out of it. It's like, who knew, you know, all these years later.
All right, if you would, let the viewers know where they could find you, your website, any of your social media platforms. Go ahead and tell the viewers.
Yeah, you know what, because it is difficult. I found out there's 1 million Spoons out there in every country, you know. There's a band called Spoon, don't get that confused. They're a newer band, it's just the Spoons. So spoonsmusic.com, you know, everything with Spoons, you'll find it. The Spoons, spoonsmusic.com, you know, anything with spoons, just give it a shot. If you come to a site that sells collectible spoons, that's not the one.
I found it, by the way.
There's a band with a guy and a girl. You know, there's a band called Spoon from America that's current and all guys. So if you see a guy with a sort of 80s looking hair, that's the one, and a cute girl in a ballerina outfit. You probably see that picture. That's the Spoons. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you would close out on a positive message about COVID, you know, whatever your thoughts are, it's your. And second part of that, if you would. And I'm gonna give you the mic and the platform here. Positive message about COVID for people dealing with it, whether in Canada or around the world, and also a message to your fans from the beginning to today.
Well, the thing, obviously, COVID is beyond, but you know, this is like bad Twilight Zone episode, really, isn't it? It's like it's a scenario that we could never, you know. I mean, we grew up in those science fiction films too, like the Doomsday Bug. Remember that movie? The sort of science, and they always say they foretold things, right? But I'm trying to think of some that makes me. Can you just give me the question one more time? I've lost my train of thought.
Try to hit it from this point, because Megan deals with it. You know, she's got stories. What's a positive message that you could tell people in this time of COVID, whether it's about wearing a mask or whether it's distancing or, you know, listen to the side, whatever it is. I don't want to.
Yeah, no, but the one thing I found during COVID is that despite all the limitations we have in our lives and the dangerous stuff, there's certain things, and I don't want to seem like shallow here, that we may miss about. All of a sudden, people are spending more time, you know, at home with family or creating their own entertainment. Suddenly, you know, you're back in the workshop making things. Or I set up my old train set that I had since I was a kid. I haven't touched it for years. You know, there are obviously things we miss because of it. But I think when things are back to kind of normal, there are certain things we may keep of that mentality that there's a lot of value in the home, and, you know, not having to be out and entertained by the rest of the world, but that family and things like that. It's also cliche and tacky, but it's true.
It's true.
There's silver lining to some of this stuff where we sort of, you know, exploring things that we kind of forgot or took for granted. And it sounds so, you know.
No, it's not cliche because we.
Yeah, but it's so true. Like
we did.
Yeah, you know, it's so easy. We kind of drifted out for a while, you know. I mean, it's kind of like an equalizer or a reminder sometimes, these things. And I would say that there's certain things that I'm forced to do now that I will continue to do. You know, even shows. We've done everything from, like I said, rooftops of buildings to private islands and we did this island show. Boats pulled up, you know, people came on, and the guy said, you know what, it may be COVID right now, but you know what, I think we're going to make this an annual thing. It's a really cool thing, this intimate moment. So hopefully some good things will come out of all this terrible, and we can only hope. You know?
Okay, and then the last part, message to your fans.
You know what? I kind of devalued music before. How said it's only music. You know, when I think about it, I really didn't mean that on that level, because that's just me trying to be. You know, I think.
You were trying to be humble, but the interviewer put you on the spot.
Yeah, you
right.
You caught me there.
Well,
Mr. Fake Humble here.
It doesn't go with you're trying to be humble. I understand, because you don't want to come across as a pompous ass.
Yeah.
But you know what? Anybody watches clips, you're gonna see. Yeah, this is probably more in depth interview than some are, and some are as in depth. But you're gonna see that the person I tell you is humble. You're gonna see it across the board, and you're gonna see him humble and funny with Sandy as well, because they've done some stuff together. And you know what? Before I let you close out with your fans, I saw you in an interview with Sandy, with the guy, and it was at the when Hard Rock was closing in Canada. You had a dog tag on, and because I'm a military guy, you can't see it, but my shadow box is above that flag.
I hope that wasn't insulting.
No, it wasn't insulting. I thought it was cool. But what was on the dog tag? Did it say Gucci? What did it say?
Oh no, it wasn't anything fancy like that. It was probably like JCPenney or something. No, I don't know. It wasn't something. Yeah.
You see how humble he is? He thinks he insulted because that don't insult me. That's cool. No, it doesn't matter if you served the military or not. If you did, I appreciate it. If you didn't, that's fine. Yeah. But no, I noticed that you was wearing that dog tag. No,
you noticed the details, eh? Wow.
Yeah, well, it was an intel. I noticed everything, but I noticed that, and then.
So this is an interrogation, not an interview.
Exactly.
All right.
You're gonna be. In fact, we're gonna have 2 people from the Twilight Zone. I'll tell you what episode it's gonna be, and then I'm gonna make him come back to the fan, because he forgot I didn't. So the episode when they were on the bus, and it said, "Will the real Martians stand up?" And they were in the diner. Do you remember that one?
And he lifts up his hat.
And he goes, we've already been here. And he lifts up his hat, and he's got the third eye.
Now that bit actor, where was he from? He was on a TV show too, wasn't he?
He was on other Twilight Zones, but the guy that had all the arms, okay, he was a great actor. His name was John. I think his name is John Hoyt, but I could be wrong about that. He was the grandfather on the 80s show Give Me a Break with Nell Carter. I don't know if you ever saw that.
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, he was.
Wow.
And he was real spicy on it. He had a lot. He was kind of like the male version of what was it? The Golden Girls, the mom. I can't remember her character's name. I could see her face, and I can't think of not B. Arthur.
B. Arthur B. Or
B.
Arthur.
No, it wasn't B. Arthur, but it was their mom.
Oh yeah.
He was.
She was a younger. Yeah.
Yeah, the male version. She was younger than what she portrayed on the show. But okay, so the last part was, what was your message to your fans before I put you on the spot about downgrading the music, which you really didn't mean?
Man, oh my gosh. Like maybe what I was sort of implying before, take something good out of this time. Everybody's sort of rediscovered family, rediscovered the home, discovered, maybe forgot about things that are frivolous. Man, this sounds so terrible and preachy. I hope it doesn't sound boring, but geez, the simple things are so golden,
And the fans, what do you want to say to the fans? Strictly to the fans that followed you, that are still following you. They're still saying this.
Oh, we're already in the process. We're going to come out with some of the best work we've ever done. Once you get over the shock of this, we're going to come out with our, Twilight Zone inspired post-COVID album that's going to be our masterpiece, right? Because there's so much to think about right now. I'm sort of freaked out to write right now, but when it's over and look back, it's going to be something. We have so many things happening. Like we have this Christmas treasure coming out. Sandy's working on a book, her side of the story. There's things we haven't stopped. You got to keep going, and all those things will all explode once we're allowed to, and we come back on the road again. And I really hope that Spoons will get a second chance. After that little mishap with A&M Records in the mid '80s, where our records got buried in the vaults of A&M. I hope we get a second shot where people, like through this, rediscover our music and go, hey, we missed these guys.
Okay. And Twilight Zone, we got to go back to one more time.
We got to do a whole episode on Twilight Zone memories, right?
I know. So you remember when, I think it was the Manhattan Transfers, they had this song here in the Twilight Zone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I can't remember, did Golden Earring have a song about the Twilight Zone?
Yeah.
Okay, so there was two. All right, hey, the dog thinks it's a cat. Oh no, okay, it's a bigger thing. Because I was like, Santana.
There it is. Like, see?
Yeah, he's gonna fall.
It's rolled up in a. She loves guitars. She likes guitars. They're like safety blankets for her. So she gravitates toward, and she loves music. So she sit there with her nose like an inch from my nose as I'm playing, singing, just looking like, what is that coming from this human's face? the sound.
That's wild. I love it. Well, hey, I greatly appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. It was so much fun. We went into some uncharted territory, and you know, it was. I like your direction of stuff. Hopefully, it's usable.
Oh, it's all usable. We don't edit. There's nothing I'm editing out. Nothing. Not even when. The best part was when Megan was in the back and she came on. That's very cool. I appreciate that. Shows you the real people. We're gonna do the Twilight Zone show, so I'm telling you now, I'm gonna put it together sooner than later, and we'll come up with a premise that we both like, and we'll go from there. Greatly appreciate it. I want to thank you as well as I tell all the musicians and artists, whether they're actors or musicians, painters, book writers, whatever. I always put humanity first, and you gave and you continue to give a contribution to humanity. That's your music. That's your love. And when people do that, when they use their God-given talent, whether you believe in God or not, that's fine. Whether it's your given talent or you want to say your God-given talent, whichever way you go is fine with me. I respect both sides. You give back. And I appreciate it. Like I said, I wasn't aware of the spoons till that Back to the Basement.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, I've had your stuff. I mixed them up earlier, folks. I said Romantic Heart, which, because of course romantic, but we know it's not.
Yeah.
Romantic Traffic, Nova Heart. I've had those two songs and the new one on loop over and over and over.
Oh,
You got to
wonderful.
find me, brother. And you got my platform as things come out with the group, or you solo, whatever projects.
Yeah.
Or even if you and Megan just want to sit down and a word to humanity, it's up to you.
Yeah.
You got my platform. You got access to me. I'll bring you back on the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you. That's great.
All right.
Thank you.
So enjoy that lobster dinner. The dog is knocked out behind you. Enjoy the rest of the night. Don't let the snow.
All right. Thank you very much.
And take care, brother.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, folks, that's another Bad Brad Berkwitt show in the can. Forget about it. My man, Gord Deppe. Nice guy, huh? Twilight Zone. You meet someone that likes the Twilight Zone. See, we don't like the Twilight Zone. Forget about it. We love the Twilight Zone. What an amazing show. So it's really cool to meet someone that has that passion for the show as I do and gets it and understands it. And we will be doing some Twilight Zone shows together. I got some ideas already racing. So, Gord, when you see this, I got some ideas, brother. We're going to have some fun with that. But, hey, another humble, talented cat, okay? Perform for you. Where else you going to get that but on the Bad Brad Berkwitt show? The Spoons, okay? Check the website out that he talked about. All right, make sure you share this interview. Make sure you leave your comments below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. All right, double forget about it today because that was such a great and fun interview. So, folks, as I always do, every act of kindness is a little love we leave behind. And if you hear tap, tap, tap in the background, that's Bella and Santino because they were jealous that Gord's dogs got camera time and they didn't get any. So you want to know something? Forget about it. I'm going to do this. Come here, Bella. Come here, Bella. Come here, Santino. So here is little Bell Bell. Here's Bell Bell. Wave, Bell Bell. Mwah. That's our little, you see, jealous team. That's Bella Dawn. She's our snorkel. Come on, team, because we know you're jealous. Come here. Come here. This is our little boy. This is Santino. Give him a kiss. 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 I love you too. Santino's a ham. Say hello, Santino. Peace. This is our little Havanese, Santino Corleone Berkwitt, named after the Godfather, Sonny from the Godfather. Look at him kisses. Yeah, look at him kisses. Look at him kisses. Look what they did to my boy. That's Deb's favorite line. All right, folks. That's it. Bad Brad out.